Right now, as you hear my voice, you may feel poor, bound, frightened by tomorrow's bills, and uncertain about what life will bring. You may be holding in your mind the image of a bank account that never seems to rise, a pile of debts that never seems to shrink, a life that feels small and caged. And yet I tell you, as plainly as I can, that by the time you wake tomorrow you can feel as the man who has already won the great prize. Not only a little more secure, not only somewhat relieved, but inwardly as rich, as free, as steady as the man who has just been told, "You have won 100 million." I speak to you from experience, not from theory. In my world, long before I ever saw a penny increase, I learned to win what you would call the lottery in the only place it truly exists, in consciousness. One night, lying upon a narrow bed in a modest room, I entered that quiet borderland between waking and sleep, and there I dared to assume that an unimaginable fortune was already mine. I did not hope for it. I did not beg for it. I did not ask some distant god to send it. I simply slipped into the feeling of having already received it. In that inner world, I held in my hands the proof of wealth. I heard the congratulations. I felt the relief, the laughter, the wonder. In that imaginal night, I became the man who had just won 100 million. When I say to you, I won the lottery by hearing this while I slept, I am not speaking of a game of numbers and tickets, though such things may be the bridge by which your wealth comes. I am speaking of a law that never fails, a law that is as sure as the rising of the sun. It was in that quiet night, with my body motionless and my mind surrendered, that I heard the only sentence that matters: I am already the winner. I let that inner word echo through me until it felt more real than the small, cramped room in which I lay. And life, obedient to the command of consciousness, rearranged itself to mirror that inner victory. Tonight, I will guide you into that same state. I will lead you, step by gentle step, from the feeling of lack into the feeling of already having won. You do not need good fortune. You do not need a special birth, a powerful friend, or an unexpected inheritance. You do not need to calculate odds or chase opportunities. You need only one thing: the willingness to believe that imagination is the only reality, and that what you assume to be true of yourself in the silence of sleep must harden into fact in your waking world. Perhaps you have prayed for money and risen to find nothing different. Perhaps you have worked harder, taken on more tasks, pushed your body beyond its strength, and yet the numbers refuse to move. Perhaps you have listened to others speak of opportunity, success, fortune, and you have thought, that is for them, never for me. Tonight I want you to put aside those old judgments. So lay them down as you would lay down a heavy coat. For a few hours, allow me to speak to you as one who has walked this path and proved the law. As you listen, I am not asking you to agree with me intellectually. I am not asking you to argue, to measure, to debate. I am inviting you into an experiment, a sacred test that only you can perform. I ask only that you remain with me, that you relax the body, quiet the mind, and allow my words to slip past the guard of reason into the deep chamber of the subconscious. There, in that inner workshop, your fortune is already waiting to be shaped. You may say, "Neville, I have no ticket, no investment, no way to win such a sum." But I tell you, the outer instruments are the smallest and least important part of the story. The true prize is not the money itself. The true prize is the discovery that you are the operant power, that your own wonderful human imagination is God, and that it creates realities as effortlessly as you now draw breath. When you know this, when you experience it even once, you will never again fear lack, for you will have found the inexhaustible treasure within. Think for a moment of the man who has actually won the grand lottery. Notice not the numbers on the paper, but his inner state. His shoulders drop, his breath deepens, his whole body relaxes into a strange mixture of disbelief and certainty. He laughs, he cries. He feels time stretch open before him as a friend, instead of an enemy. That feeling, that deep shift from anxiety to assurance, is the true wealth. The check is only its shadow. Tonight, as you drift towards sleep, I will show you how to enter that feeling deliberately, how to put it on as you would put on a garment, until you sleep as the winner and wake to a world compelled to treat you as such. You may have been told that wealth belongs only to the clever, the educated, the well-born. You may have watched others rise while you remained seemingly fixed. But I tell you, the only difference between the man who wins and the man who loses is the state from which he lives. One assumes himself fortunate, chosen, blessed. The other assumes himself cursed, overlooked, unlucky. And life, being no respecter of persons, simply reflects each assumption. Tonight, you will abandon the old state of the loser, the outsider, the one for whom nothing ever works. You will step into the state of the one who has already won. And you will do it where it matters most, in the dark silence behind your closed eyes. You do not need to understand every step before you begin. When I boarded a ship to sail home with no money of my own, when doors opened that should have remained closed, when opportunities appeared that I could never have planned, I did not know in advance what form the bridge would take. I knew only the end. I knew what I had already assumed to be true in my imagination. I knew the feeling of being there, of having arrived, of having received. The how was none of my concern. In the same way, you do not need to know how 100 million can find its way to you. Your task is far simpler and far more powerful, to assume in the depths of your being that you are the one who has already received it. So as you continue to listen, let my voice become the gentle companion that walks with you from your present sense of lack into the certainty of abundance. If doubt rises, let it rise and fall like a wave, but do not ride it. Simply return your attention to the feeling I am describing. Let the words, "I am already the winner," begin to live in you, not as a phrase repeated by rote, but as a quiet, steady knowing. Tonight, as you lie down to sleep, you will not go to bed as the one who is still waiting for life to change. You will not carry your bills with you into the darkness. You will not rehearse the failures of the past. Instead, you will do what I once did. You will dare to close your eyes and imagine that the news has already arrived. The fortune is already yours. The long struggle is already over. You will feel what it is to be free, to be secure, to be richer inside than any number could measure. And as you drift into the depths of sleep, with that feeling as your final companion, the subconscious will take it as law and set the whole vast world in motion to reflect it. Stay with me now. Do not turn away because the promise seems too great. What I offer you is not fantasy. It is not idle comfort. It is a law as sure as gravity. I have seen it lift men and women from poverty to plenty, from fear to confidence, from despair to joy. I have watched it turn what looked like chance into certainty. Tonight, if you will allow it, it will begin its work in you. And in the quiet hours when your senses are still, you will hear the only sentence that ever truly matters: I am the one who has already won. There was a time in my own life when I knew the taste of lack far more intimately than the taste of abundance. I was a young man then, living in New York City, during an age when the world seemed heavy with uncertainty. Jobs were scarce, opportunities scarcer, and every street corner felt like a reminder of what I did not yet possess. I recall walking those long avenues with pockets nearly empty, and dreams that felt too grand for the body that carried them. I had talent, yes, and curiosity, and an inner fire that refused to die, but outwardly my circumstances were narrow, confining, almost hostile at times. I lived in small rooms. I ate modest meals, and I often wondered how a man could lift himself when even the world seemed bent beneath the weight of its own troubles. In those days I believed, as nearly everyone around me believed, that fortune was a matter of privilege or accident. I thought wealth belonged to the man born into a certain family, to the man with the right connections, to the man lucky enough to be chosen by circumstance. If you had asked me then whether a poor dancer from Barbados could one day assume the consciousness of immense wealth, I might have smiled politely and dismissed the thought as pleasant but impossible. For the world I saw with my senses appeared fixed, made of solid facts, and I had not yet learned that these apparent facts were only shadows of an inner state. But life, in its strange mercy, has a way of breaking a man open when he least expects it. It was during one of my most difficult periods, when the pressures of the outer world felt almost unendurable, that I first encountered the truth that would change everything. I was introduced to a man, Abdullah, who spoke with the authority of one who knew. He told me that imagination creates reality, that consciousness is the one and only cause, and that the outer world is only the fruit of an unseen seed. I resisted him at first, for what he said contradicted everything I had been taught, everything society insisted was true. But he was patient, and life itself seemed determined to show me that my old beliefs were insufficient. I still remember the night when the truth first took hold of me, not merely in thought, but in experience. I had returned to my small room with a heavy heart. The day had been long, unkind, and filled with reminders of my own apparent limitations. But as I lay down upon my bed, listening to the faint noises of the city outside, a strange stillness came over me. It was as though the world withdrew for a moment, and I found myself suspended between waking and sleep, a delicate, trembling place where the senses loosen their grip, and the imagination steps forward as master. In that quiet threshold, something within me rose. I cannot tell you whether it was inspiration, grace, or the simple exhaustion of struggling against life, but I suddenly felt the urge to do something I had never done consciously before. I closed my eyes and imagined myself wealthy, truly wealthy, not merely hoping for money, not daydreaming of a better life, but feeling the actual relief, the quiet confidence, the serene joy of a man who possesses great abundance. I felt myself expand into that state, as though slipping into a garment that had been tailored for me long ago. It was in that moment that I understood, though dimly at first, that the lottery is not numbers drawn from a bowl, nor a ticket purchased at a counter. The true lottery is a state of consciousness, and the winning is the assumption of already having received. The man who wins outwardly has first won inwardly. The event you call luck is only the delayed reflection of a decision made on a deeper level of being. What I experienced that night was not a fantasy. It was a shift in identity. I discovered that wealth is not something a man chases, but something he embodies. I awoke the next morning feeling different, though nothing in my outer world had yet changed. But the inner shift was unmistakable. A new confidence, a quiet assurance had taken root. I walked the streets with a new bearing. I felt rich even as my pockets remained empty. I felt provided for even before the evidence appeared. I did not yet know how this new inner state would externalize itself, but I trusted the feeling more than I trusted the facts. And then, slowly at first, the world began to change. Unexpected opportunities arose. People who had never noticed me before now sought me out. Doors I long believed sealed began to open. Invitations came, and with each one I felt the invisible hand of the law, arranging what my imagination had already claimed. It was not long before the wealth I had assumed in that quiet night began to take form in my outer world, not always in the way I expected, but always in perfect correspondence with the state I had occupied within. So when I speak to you now of winning the 100 million, understand that I speak first of a spiritual event. The winning was accomplished the moment I assumed the feeling of the wish fulfilled. The outer manifestation, whether it appeared as money, opportunity, prosperity, or some unexpected gift, was only the echo of that inner victory. I discovered that the outer world must conform to the inner state, and that the true work of man is not to manipulate circumstances, but to assume the state that implies the fulfillment of his desire. There were many nights after that when I experimented, tested, and proved the law again and again. Each time I entered that sacred borderland, before sleep, and assumed the feeling of having, life responded with obedience. Each time I wandered from the path and allowed doubt or fear to guide me, life reflected those states with equal precision. I learned that consciousness is the only creator, that the world is but a mirror, and that man can remake his world by remaking himself. If I could take you back to those early years, to the cold rooms and the uncertain days, you would see a young man who on the surface possessed very little. But in the silence of those nights, he discovered a treasure greater than any coin, for he found the power that shapes destiny. He found that imagination is not an idle dreamer, but the architect of every fortune. He found that sleep is not an escape from the world, but the workshop where worlds are built. And it was there, in that humble beginning, that I learned the secret I now share with you, that wealth begins not with money, but with a state of being. That the true lottery is won, in consciousness, long before any outward evidence appears. And that the man who can feel rich before he sees wealth will inevitably see wealth because he first felt rich. This is the truth that lifted me from obscurity into a life of freedom. This is the truth that transformed a poor, unknown performer into a teacher of the law. And it is this same truth that tonight, if you allow it to enter your heart, will begin to lift you from the state you now occupy into the state of the man who has already won his prize. For what I found in that dimly lit room so many years ago is available to you now, in this very moment, if you will dare to imagine as I once dared. As you remain with me, I want you to understand the journey upon which you are about to walk. These hours we share together are not meant to entertain you, nor merely to soothe you into a pleasant sleep. They are meant to reshape you, to guide you into the very state that changed my life and has changed the lives of countless men and women who dared to believe that imagination is the only creative power. Tonight is not an ordinary night. Tonight is a passage, a crossing, a quiet initiation into the mystery of how reality is formed. Before this night ends, I shall show you how to prepare the mind for sleep in a way few have ever understood. Most men tumble into sleep as exhausted servants of the day, carrying with them the worries, disappointments, and failures of their waking hours. They go to bed as the version of themselves they wish to escape, and then they wonder why nothing changes. But I will show you how to approach sleep as a deliberate creator, as one who enters the inner chamber with intention, clarity, and an assumed identity already fulfilled. You will see why the final moments before sleep are the most fertile ground in all creation, and why the subconscious accepts your last impression as the law it must obey. During these hours, I will give you the exact phrase, the inner code, that unlocks the subconscious mind. It is simple, astonishingly simple, but it carries within it the authority of the divine I am. When spoken with feeling, it bypasses every barrier the conscious mind erects. When allowed to sink gently into the depths of the psyche, it becomes the seed of a new destiny. I will not merely tell you the words. I will help you feel the life behind them, the power that makes them true the moment they are assumed. For it is not the phrase itself that works the miracle, but the state from which it is spoken. You will hear how I once used this very law to bring into my world what would be, in today's measure, a fortune beyond imagination, 100 million in equivalent value. Not because I was lucky, not because some benefactor appeared, but because I assumed the inner state of a man who had already received it. I held that feeling in the stillness of sleep, and life, faithful to the command of consciousness, produced the outer forms necessary to fulfill what I had already accepted within myself. If you listen carefully tonight, you will recognize the same bridge of incidents rising quietly in your own life as the world reconfigures itself around your new assumption. You will also come to see why so many fail, even when they believe the law, even when they repeat affirmations, even when they practice with enthusiasm. It is not lack of desire, nor lack of intelligence, nor any deficiency in the law itself. It is simply that they fall asleep in the wrong state. A man may proclaim wealth all day long, but if he drifts into sleep feeling poor, feeling defeated, feeling anxious about tomorrow, then the subconscious, obedient and impartial, will take that feeling as the pattern to reproduce. The sleep state is the gateway through which your future is born, and most men guard that gate with their fears instead of their desires. You will no longer do this after tonight. I will show you how to slip into the state where wealth is not something hoped for, but something quietly known. You will see how the mind, when gently guided toward the feeling of fulfillment, becomes the womb of all abundance. You will feel how natural it is to inhabit the world of your wish fulfilled, how effortless it becomes once you abandon the belief that facts are greater than assumptions. And as you practice this, in the stillness of night, the outer world will begin to echo your inner transformation with increasing clarity. Before these hours are over, you will understand that richness is not a matter of striving or struggling, but of surrendering to a new identity. The moment you accept this new self, wealthy, secure, abundant, the entire universe reorganizes itself to make that identity visible. Opportunities you never sought will appear. People you never expected will play their roles. Circumstances will shift in ways no human planner could orchestrate. It may begin subtly, almost imperceptibly, but the momentum grows until the new state becomes inevitable. Tonight you will learn how to make wealth your natural home, the air you breathe, the ground beneath your feet. You will see that abundance is not a distant goal, but a present truth waiting for you to walk into it. As my voice guides you deeper and deeper into the state of wish fulfilled, you will feel the old limitations dissolve, the old identity fade, and the new self rise with a certainty that cannot be shaken. This is the journey you and I shall take together. Not a journey across miles or continents, but a journey inward into the quiet center, where reality is shaped. And when you emerge, whether in 3 hours or upon waking, you will not be the same. For once a man knows how to fall asleep as the version of himself he longs to be, wealth becomes not a possibility, but a law. When I speak of sleep, I do not speak of the mere closing of the eyes or the drifting of the body into rest. I speak of a holy moment, a sacred interval in which creation itself is set into motion. For sleep, as I have come to understand through experience and revelation, is the womb of all manifestation. Just as the child is formed in the secret place, unseen by the outer eye, so too is your future formed in the deep silence of the sleeping mind. The world believes that sleep is an escape, a pause, a forgetting. But I tell you that sleep is the workshop of God within you. It is there, in that sacred borderland, where thought dissolves into feeling, that the seeds of tomorrow are planted. The subconscious mind is the soil of creation. It is rich, fertile, unresisting, and impartial. Whatever seed you drop into it, whether of wealth or of poverty, of joy or of sorrow, it receives with perfect fidelity. It does not question. It does not judge. It does not reject. It accepts. It embraces. It brings forth after its kind. Just as the earth cannot decide to transform an apple seed into a thorn bush, your subconscious cannot change the nature of the impression you give it. If you plant fear, it grows fear. If you plant lack, it grows lack. If you plant wealth, felt with conviction, it grows wealth. The soil does not choose the harvest. The sower does. This is why I tell you that your last thought before sleep is infinitely more important than anything you have done during the day. For that last thought, that final feeling, is the seed dropped into the womb of night. And once planted, it cannot remain barren. It must push outward into expression. As surely as the farmer wakes to sprouts after the seed has been buried, you too will wake to conditions shaped by the impression you carried into sleep. Morning is not merely another day. Morning is the harvest of the night before. Whether that harvest is bitter or sweet depends entirely on the seed you planted as your eyelids grew heavy. I have compared this mystery to agriculture, because the laws of consciousness are reflected everywhere in nature. The farmer does not plant one seed and expect another. He does not sow thistles and hope for wheat. He sows with intention. He protects his field from weeds, from stones, from anything that would choke the life of his harvest. But most men act as careless farmers of their own minds. They go to bed rehearsing their failures, watering the weeds of yesterday with the tears of worry and fear. They lie down burdened by bills, resenting their employers, regretting their mistakes, and then they wonder why life repeats itself endlessly like a broken wheel. They have planted the same seed and expect a different fruit. But you, hearing me now, will no longer make this mistake. You will approach sleep as the ancient priests approach the Holy of Holies, with reverence, with intention, with awareness of its power. For as the seed is to the field, so is your imaginal act to your destiny. The darkness of night does not hide your creation, it nurtures it. The silence does not erase your desire, it fertilizes it. And the moment you surrender to sleep, feeling yourself already, the one who has the subconscious begins its work, weaving your assumption into form. In Scripture, you find this mystery everywhere. It is said that creation begins in the evening and ends in the morning. Notice the order, not morning to evening, but evening to morning. Darkness first, then light. The unseen cause precedes the visible effect. Every chapter of Genesis echoes this rhythm of consciousness, and the evening and the morning were the first day. Evening, the state akin to sleep, the inner world, the imaginal act. Morning, the external world, the manifestation, the harvest. Once you grasp this pattern, life ceases to be a riddle. You understand that your evenings determine your mornings, not the other way around. Consider the story of the sower in the New Testament. The seed is the word, the inner assumption, the imaginal act. The soil is the heart, the subconscious. Some seeds fall on rocky ground. Those are the desires impressed without feeling. Some fall among thorns, the desires suffocated by fear and doubt. But some fall into good soil, into a heart prepared by stillness, by faith, by the state akin to sleep, and they bring forth fruit, some 30-fold, some 60, some 100-fold. This is no agricultural lesson, it is psychological truth. The seed is your assumption, the soil is your subconscious, the harvest is your life. Let me give you another picture. Imagine a potter shaping clay on his wheel. The clay itself is formless, obedient, passive. It takes whatever shape the potter impresses upon it. In the same way, your subconscious is shapeless potential. Sleep softens the clay. Sleep warms it. Sleep prepares it to take new form. Your final imaginal act is the hand that shapes the vessel of your future. If your hands tremble with fear, the vessel will crumble. If your heart is steady with faith, the vessel will be strong. But the clay will never choose its form. Only you can do that. Or think of the womb of a mother. The child is formed in darkness, nourished without effort, shaped without conscious control. The mother need not force the process. She must simply carry the seed. The subconscious works in the same way. Once the seed of your fulfilled desire is planted, the subconscious nourishes it in silence. You do not need to strain, to worry, to force. You need only to persist in the assumption, to feel it real as you fall asleep. The womb takes over from there. Life itself forms the child of your imagination. Even the world of dreams reflects this truth. In sleep, you wander through states, through scenes, through images created entirely by your mind. No outer fact enters there, yet everything appears real. You laugh, you cry, you fear, you rejoice, all within a world born of your own consciousness. If you can experience such vivid reality in dreams, how can you doubt that the state you enter before those dreams shapes the waking world in the same way? Let me give you one more metaphor, for the mind grasps truth more deeply when seen from many angles. Picture a great loom upon which the tapestry of your life is woven. By day, threads are gathered, experiences, impressions, conversations. But it is by night that the loom begins its work. The final thought before sleep is the thread placed into the shuttle. The subconscious then pulls it through the fabric of your world. If the thread is frayed with doubt, the pattern becomes distorted. If the thread is golden with faith, the pattern glows with abundance. So I tell you again, with all the earnestness of one who has lived this law, guard your final thought. Protect it as a farmer protects his seed. Cherish it as a mother cherishes the first flutter of life within her. For that thought, felt deeply, becomes the destiny you will meet upon waking. When you lie down tonight, do not carry the failures of the day. lay them aside. Enter sleep as the one you desire to be. Walk into the inner chamber with the quiet dignity of a creator. Plant the seed of wealth, of freedom, of fulfillment in the rich soil of the subconscious. And know with certainty that the morning cannot help but bring forth a harvest in harmony with your inner act. For sleep is the womb, the subconscious is the soil, your last thought is the seed, and the morning is the harvest that reveals what you planted in the silence of the night before. There was a time in my life when I, too, wrestled with the idea of wealth. Not wealth for vanity's sake, not riches to boast of, but the quiet assurance that life would unfold abundantly, freely, generously. In those days, I was a young man with far more dreams than coins in my pocket. And though I lectured on imagination, though I spoke of assumption as the golden key, I had yet to discover for myself the vastness of what the law could bring forth when one dared to assume without compromise. The desire for great wealth did not arise in me as a number, nor as a scheme, nor as an urge to conquer the world financially. It came as an inner whisper, a subtle stirring, a sense that I had not yet tested the law to its fullest extent. I had seen small proofs, unexpected gifts, sudden opportunities, debts dissolved without effort. But I felt within me a longing to know whether the law would respond just as faithfully to a desire so grand it would seem impossible to the rational mind. In those days, the idea of what you now call $100 million would have been unimaginable to most men. Fortunes of that size existed only for the few, the privileged, the giants of commerce. And yet, one evening, as I walked alone beneath the quiet light of the street lamps, a thought entered me, not as an ambition but as a revelation. I realized that wealth was not a number, but a state, not a sum but a feeling, not an accumulation of things but an identity assumed. It was in that moment that the conception occurred. I felt within myself, not as a dream, not as a fantasy, but as a living certainty, the feeling of immense wealth. It was as though I had stepped into the skin of a man for whom abundance was as natural as breath, as effortless as the beating of the heart. I did not think of how the wealth would come. I did not attempt to calculate the means. Numbers were irrelevant to me, processes meaningless. I only knew that I felt myself to be a man of tremendous fortune. That night, as I lay in bed, I closed my eyes and let the feeling deepen. I imagined not stacks of money, not ledgers, not bank vaults, but the sensation of financial freedom. The ease of knowing that not a single need could disturb my peace. The quiet confidence of one who gives freely because he knows his source is infinite. I felt the warmth of that state, the dignity of it, the naturalness of it. It was not accompanied by excitement or frenzy. True wealth is never frantic. It was calm, certain, inevitable. Night after night, I returned to that feeling. There was no strain in it, no anxiety, no pleading. It was as though I had slipped on a new garment and found that it fit me perfectly. And I discovered something extraordinary. The more I assumed the state of vast wealth, the less interested I became in the numbers themselves. Whether the equivalent of 100 million or 10 million or a single unexpected windfall, it no longer mattered. The number was only a symbol. Wealth itself was a mood, a tone, a vibration of being. As the weeks passed, something remarkable began to happen. My external life rearranged itself with a precision so delicate, so perfect, that no human mind could have orchestrated it. Opportunities arose that I had not sought. Doors opened where walls had stood. Men who had never heard my name were suddenly eager to support my work. Invitations appeared from cities and institutions that seemed entirely out of reach only months before. And with each unfolding event, I felt the invisible hand of the law guiding me forward. I did not count the money as it came. I counted the feeling. Every step, every gift, every provision carried the unmistakable fragrance of the state I had assumed. Wealth approached me not as a sudden windfall, not as a lottery prize, but as a steady revelation of who I had become within. Yet when I looked back, years later, and calculated what had flowed through my life as a result of that assumption, through lectures, books, patrons, gifts, and inheritances. It exceeded the modern equivalent of $100 million. But hear me well. The number did not matter then, and it does not matter now. The number was never the point. I had not conceived a number. I had conceived a state. I had not imagined currency. I had imagined identity. I had not reached outward. I had reached inward. And the law, faithful as always, gave to me not according to the number I pursued, but according to the feeling I embodied. There was, however, one moment I remember vividly. I was alone, seated in the quiet of my room, long after the first great wave of abundance had begun to unfold, and I asked myself, what was the true beginning of this? And in an instant, I saw it again, that simple moment of conception, when I first felt myself to be wealthy without needing evidence, without needing validation, without needing to know how. That moment was the true creation. Everything that followed, the lectures, the patrons, the opportunities, was merely the bridge of incidents leading to the fulfillment of the state I had assumed. I realized then that I had never won a fortune. I had become the fortune. The law did not deliver money to me as though from the outside. The law transformed me into the embodiment of abundance, and the outer world conformed. If I had imagined a specific number, perhaps I would have limited myself. If I had insisted upon one particular channel, perhaps I would have choked the flow. But by assuming the state without concern for the form, I allowed the law to express itself freely, creatively, magnificently. So I tell you now from lived experience, the moment you feel yourself to be wealthy, your world will hasten to reflect it. The number is never the cause. The number is never the source. You are the source. And when you assume the state of abundance, the law will draw to you whatever corresponds to that state, whether it comes as a gift, an opportunity, a business, an inheritance, or yes, even a winning ticket. The $100 million I speak of was not a jackpot won in an instant. It was the harvest of a seed planted in the silence of night, a seed of identity that grew into a life overflowing with abundance. And if it happened for me, not by chance, not by luck, but by law, then it can happen for you. For the law is impersonal, infinite, and unfailing. What you dare to assume and feel as true becomes the life you will one day call your own. There is a subtle enemy that walks beside nearly every man who seeks to use this law. It is not loud. It does not shout. It does not confront you with open hostility. It slips in quietly, gently, almost lovingly, like a familiar companion who claims only to be realistic, only to keep you grounded, only to remind you of how things truly are. And because it whispers instead of roars, most never recognize it for what it is. It is the enemy that defeats 99 out of every 100 who attempt to apply this teaching. It is doubt, not the doubt you feel when you first hear the law, nor the innocent questioning of a beginner who seeks understanding. No, the doubt I speak of is far more subtle. It arrives after you have declared the wish fulfilled, after you have whispered the code, after you have dared to assume the state of wealth. It waits until your declaration has settled like a seed in the soil, and then, ever so quietly, it comes to uproot it. Perhaps you know the feeling. You lie in bed. You whisper the words, "I am wealthy." You feel them alive upon your tongue, and the sensation rises beautifully within you. For a moment, you are certain. For a moment, you live in the end. But when morning comes, when the light appears, when the mind awakens to the activity of the world, another voice slips in, soft yet sharp. But nothing has changed. That one thought, my friend, has strangled more manifestations than all the forces of the world combined. You see, doubt is not disbelief in the law. Most men believe the law works. Their minds accept it. Their hearts long for it. But their habits, their old patterns of thought, their years of conditioning pull them back into the prison of appearances. They declare wealth at night and confirm poverty in the morning. They plant roses by twilight and scatter weeds at dawn. I remember speaking to a gentleman many years ago. He was earnest, sincere, and well educated in the teaching. He had read my books, attended my lectures, and practiced daily. And yet he said to me, "Neville, I declare wealth every night, and still I see no change." I asked him, "What do you declare in the morning?" He looked puzzled. "Nothing," he said. "I simply go about my day." I pressed further. "And what thoughts fill your mind as you rise?" He sighed, and the truth escaped him. "I think of my debts. I worry about the slow week at work. I wonder how I'll pay the bills." There it was, the silent enemy. He believed the declaration was a momentary act, something done only at night, like a ritual. But the law does not ask for ritual. It asks for loyalty. It asks for consistency of identity. This man planted wealth in the soil of the subconscious, but in the morning he watered poverty. He assumed abundance at night, but walked in lack during the day. He declared, "I am wealthy," and immediately contradicted himself with every anxious thought that followed. And so, nothing changed. Another of my students, a woman with a gentle heart and the sweetest disposition, came to me in tears. She said, "Neville, I have prayed, I have affirmed, I have imagined, I fall asleep, whispering I am wealthy. Yet each morning I feel the same despair. Why is this happening?" I asked her, "Tell me, what do you talk about with your friends?" At once her face revealed the answer before her lips did. She confessed, "We speak of our struggles, of prices rising, of how difficult life is, of how everyone is worried for the future." And I said to her, "My dear, you declare wealth at night, but you deny it by day. You cannot serve two masters. You cannot assume abundance in the silence and confess lack in conversation. The law will always mirror the state you dwell in most." She left with a heavy heart, yet determined to change. She began to guard her speech, to restrain her tongue from idle discussions of struggle. "If I cannot speak wealth," she told her friends, "I will speak nothing at all." And when silence felt too heavy, she would say softly to herself, "I am provided for. I am cared for. I am wealthy." Within months, her life blossomed. Not suddenly, not violently, but gently, like the dawn, slowly overtaking the night. She later told me, "Neville, the moment I stopped agreeing with poverty, the whole world stopped offering it to me." Another enemy that defeats many is the habit of asking instead of assuming. Asking feels humble, but it is the most subtle declaration of lack. For to ask is to admit you do not possess. To request is to declare separation. To plead is to confess absence. I once advised a man who prayed fervently every night for money. His prayers were soaked in desperation. "God, please help me," he cried. "Please send abundance. Please save me from the struggle." He asked and asked, but nothing came. When he came to me, I asked him, "What do you feel when you pray?" He answered, "I feel fear. I feel empty. I feel as though God is far away." And I told him, "Then that is the prayer you are offering. Fear, empty, far away. You are declaring separation from the very wealth you seek. Stop asking. Begin assuming. Whisper not, 'Please give me wealth,' but 'I am wealth.' Feel it as now. Feel it as truth." For assumption, not request, is the prayer that the subconscious receives. When he made this shift, when he ceased begging and began declaring, everything changed. Not because fate grew kinder, but because he finally spoke the language the subconscious obeys, the language of identity. Yet perhaps the greatest enemy of all is the failure to revise the day. Most people fall asleep, rehearsing the difficulties of the day. They carry into sleep the arguments, the failures, the disappointments, the fears. They replay the events that wounded them. They relive the moments that frightened them, and they think, "This is honesty." But honesty to the senses is bondage. When you take the unlovely events of the day into sleep, you enter the womb of creation carrying poison. And the subconscious, faithful and impartial, will bring forth the likeness of what you carried. I knew a young man who did precisely this. Each night he replayed his frustrations, his disappointments, his unmet expectations. He believed he was being realistic. He believed he was facing his problems. But all he was doing was planting them again and again in the fertile soil of sleep. When I taught him revision, he resisted it at first. Neville, he said, it feels like lying. It feels like pretending the day was something it wasn't. And I replied, my dear boy, you are not pretending. You are choosing. You are selecting the seed you will plant in the womb of the night. You may plant the weeds of the day or the roses of imagination. Both are equally valid to the subconscious. Which harvest do you prefer? He practiced it reluctantly at first, rewriting the day before sleep, imagining kind words where harsh ones had been spoken, success where failure had occurred, joy where sorrow had sat heavily upon him. And slowly the world around him began to transform. People who once dismissed him began to favor him. Opportunities that had been closed opened. Life softened. He said to me, Neville, it is as though the world became kinder the moment I stopped punishing myself with yesterday. But let me tell you the deepest truth. The silent enemy is not doubt alone, nor careless words, nor anxious mornings, nor unrevised nights. The true enemy is divided identity. To assume wealth for 5 minutes at night and poverty for the rest of the day is to wage war against yourself. The law responds not to moments, but to the state you inhabit most. To conquer the enemy, you must choose with finality who you are, not who you hope to become, not who you wish to be someday, but who you are now. When you say, I am wealthy, you must mean it as identity, not dream. When you walk, walk as one secure. When you speak, speak as one provided for. When you sleep, sleep as one who already possesses. The law will not contradict your deepest conviction. It will not betray your truest assumption. It will not deliver wealth to the man who identifies as poor, nor deny it to the man who identifies as abundant. I have seen countless students transform the moment they stopped wavering, the moment they ceased arguing with appearances, the moment they refused to return to the old state, the moment they said, I will be faithful to my assumption, no matter what the senses tell me. For faithfulness to the end is the only requirement the law demands. And so I ask you gently, lovingly, sincerely, what identity do you carry into the silence? What assumption governs your mornings? What tone colors your speech? What memories do you relive? What world do you rehearse in imagination? These choices, not fate, not luck, not fortune, determine whether the seed thrives or withers. If you will choose wealth, persist in wealth, revise in wealth, sleep in wealth, walk in wealth, and speak in wealth, the silent enemy will wither away like a shadow in light, and the harvest will be yours. There comes a moment in every journey when one must gently but firmly correct the course, not with violence, not with self-reproach, not with despair, but with the simple recognition that consciousness has wandered, and the equally simple decision to bring it back. For consciousness is like a ship upon the sea. It drifts when left unattended. The tides of past habit, the winds of old fears, the currents of memory pull it from its destination, unless the helm is held with deliberate, steady hands. And so, if you have found yourself slipping, if doubt has crept in, if fear has whispered its familiar tale, if you have caught yourself rehearsing poverty or lack, know this, nothing is lost, nothing is ruined, nothing is beyond repair. The law does not punish mistakes, for the law is not a judge, it is a mirror. And the moment you correct your inner state, the mirror adjusts. The moment you shift the assumption, the world begins to turn. There is no backward step that cannot be redeemed by a single forward assumption. Let me tell you what I learned in my own practice. The most powerful correction is immediate correction. The moment you catch a negative state rising, envy, fear, resentment, worry, address it at once before it takes root. Do not indulge it. Do not entertain it as though it were justified. Do not dwell upon it as though it had value. Simply replace it. For every negative state has its counterpart in truth. If envy arises, replace it with gratitude. Envy says, why him? Gratitude says, thank you, for this shows me what is possible. If fear arises, replace it with confidence. Fear imagines loss, confidence imagines provision. If resentment arises, replace it with generosity. Resentment contracts, generosity expands. If worry arises, replace it with the assumption that all things are working together for your good. Do not fight the negative state. Fighting it only strengthens it. You correct it the way one corrects a child, gently, firmly, and with certainty that love, not fear, governs the house. And now let us speak of one of the great thieves of wealth consciousness, the feeling of debt. I do not mean only financial debt, but emotional debt, spiritual debt. The lingering sense that you owe the world something, that you are behind, that you are struggling to catch up. Nothing kills the assumption of wealth faster than the inner confession, I am lacking. If you carry that tone into sleep, you plant seeds of struggle. If you carry it through the day, you walk under a shadow that need not be there. To correct this, you must adopt a new posture toward all that you owe. Instead of seeing debt as a weight, see it as something already resolved. In imagination, feel each obligation as fulfilled. When you think of a bill, imagine it marked paid. When you think of an obligation, see it complete. When you think of a responsibility, feel it already accomplished. You are not running behind, you are walking ahead with ease. Fear, too, must be corrected before it reaches the threshold of sleep. Fear loves to enter the night unnoticed. It slips in as a worry, a speculation, a small tremor in the heart. But if you allow fear to be the companion that walks with you into the darkness, it will imprint itself upon the subconscious as the final word. And the subconscious, taking that word as law, will construct your morning in the likeness of that fear. So when fear arises, do not push it down. Do not pretend you do not feel it. Instead, do the opposite. Acknowledge it, and then replace it with the assumption that already has the answer. Say within yourself, this too is resolved. Feel the weight lift. Feel yourself standing in a world where the difficulty has already been overcome. By the time you enter sleep, let fear be nothing more than a faint memory of an old identity that no longer belongs to you. But perhaps the greatest correction of all happens not in the moments of meditation or just before sleep, but in the walking hours of the day. For wealth is not only a state you assume at night, it is a tone you must wear as a garment from sunrise to sunset. You must walk as the wealthy walk, speak as the wealthy speak, breathe as the wealthy breathe. Not with arrogance, not with ostentation, but with quiet dignity, with unshakable ease, with the calm assurance that your supply is infinite. Observe yourself. How do you carry your body? A wealthy man does not rush. He moves with deliberation. A wealthy woman does not shrink herself. She stands with grace, with poise, with presence. A rich spirit does not check its pockets to confirm its worth. It knows. It trusts. It walks with the serene awareness that everything needed is already here or on its way. In your conversations, be mindful of the tone you bring. Do not speak of hardship, even if others do. Do not agree with lack, even politely. And if someone around you insists on rehearsing tales of struggle, let your answer be silence or gentle redirection, not from judgment, but from fidelity to your new identity. When you walk down the street, walk as though the world itself recognizes your abundance. When you purchase even a simple item, do so with the feeling that money flows freely to and through you. When you give, give as one who possesses, not as one who sacrifices. Wealth becomes inevitable. The moment wealth becomes natural. Do not wait for the world to change before you adopt this posture. The world changes because you adopt it. And if at any time during the day you feel yourself slipping, if lack creeps into your tone, if fear bends your posture, if worry tightens your breath, pause for a moment. Close your eyes, if only for a breath. Recall the feeling of wealth. Feel the state again. Step into it, and resume your day from that identity. That is correction. That is mastery. You see, abundance is not created by effort. It is created by identity. The moment you identify as the wealthy one, the world rearranges itself to echo that truth. And the more often you correct your course, the sooner wealth becomes the only state you know. There was a period in my life when the subject of money seemed to press upon me from every angle. Bills arrived before provision did. Obligations felt heavier than opportunities. And though I knew the law, though I had seen it work in countless areas, I had not yet learned to apply it fully to matters of finance. It was then that I discovered one of the most marvelous gifts ever entrusted to imagination. Revision is not merely a technique. It is redemption. It is resurrection. It is the power to rewrite the past so that the future may unfold from a purified seed. And just as a man may revise an unkind word, a broken relationship, or a painful memory, so too may he revise every condition tied to money. For the past has no life of its own. It lives only by the meaning you continue to give it. Change the meaning, and you change the harvest. Many years ago, as I sat alone with a stack of unpaid bills before me, I felt the familiar tightening in my chest, a mixture of frustration and resignation. But in that moment, a quiet idea rose within me. This does not need to remain as it is. I took one bill in my hand, looked at the amount due, and instead of reacting in fear, I imagined the words "paid in full" stamped across it. I felt the relief of a man who owed nothing. I felt the ease of a man whose affairs were in order. I allowed that sensation to replace the old one entirely. Then another bill, and another. Every one of them I revised. I did not ignore the debt. I redeemed it. I redeemed it. I rewrote the past by writing a new inner meaning upon it. And within a short span of time, the exact amount I needed came in a manner so natural I could never have traced it to my act of revision unless I had first known the law. What I discovered then is what I now tell you. Money obeys imagination. Always. You may have memories of unpaid bills, years of financial struggle, moments when you felt humiliated or helpless. These memories are not inactive. They live in the subconscious, shaping your assumptions, echoing in your expectations, whispering into your future, but they hold no authority except that which you continue to give them. And through revision, you may withdraw every ounce of power they once possessed. Let me show you how. Suppose you once received a letter demanding payment you could not give. Instead of replaying the fear, take that letter in imagination and see it transformed. Hear the envelope open to reveal a notice saying, "Your account is settled." Listen to the imagined voice of the sender saying, "There is no more balance due. All is taken care of." Feel the relief as though it were happening now. Do not simply think the words, feel the new event. Suppose you once borrowed money and felt ashamed. In imagination, revisit the moment. Instead of seeing yourself as a desperate borrower, see yourself as a giver, as one who provides, as one who stands in abundance. Rewrite the memory so that you are the one extending the gift. Feel the warmth of generosity rather than the sting of lack. You are not pretending. You are choosing the version of the event that will fertilize your future. Suppose you once received a receipt for something you feared you could not afford. Return to that scene. Take the receipt in imagination and feel the satisfaction of having paid with ease. Feel the cashier thanking you. Feel the lightness in your heart. Let the memory shift from stress to sufficiency. One of my students had struggled with debt for nearly a decade. Each time she opened her purse, the sight of unpaid bills filled her with dread. When she learned revision, she returned to every memory of debt she could recall. She imagined receiving letters telling her that her accounts were clear. She imagined phone calls in which creditors spoke kindly, saying, "Everything has been settled." She reimagined every instance of financial strain as financial freedom. Within months, her world rearranged itself. A small inheritance surfaced, a forgotten refund arrived. A friend returned money she had lent and assumed long gone. She wrote to me saying, "Neville, it is as though the past itself shifted to meet me halfway." And indeed, it had. Another gentleman I knew once purchased a lottery ticket. This was nothing unusual, but he carried into the experience the old emotion of doubt. When he lost, he felt foolish and resentful, and that memory lingered in him for years as proof that he was unlucky. I told him, revise it. Return to the moment you purchased the ticket. Feel yourself doing so with confidence. Feel yourself smiling, knowing you are guided. Feel the anticipation of one who expects only good. Replace the memory of loss with the feeling of inevitability. He did this faithfully, and something remarkable happened. He began to win. Not fortunes at first, but small amounts, enough to shift his confidence. And soon, opportunities for wealth emerged far beyond the lottery. He said to me, Neville, revising that single moment freed me from a lifetime of believing I was unlucky. Revision is not about changing the historical fact. It is about changing the energetic imprint left upon the subconscious. The subconscious does not remember events, only interpretations, only feelings, only meanings. Let me give you an example that illustrates this with clarity. Imagine a man who once lost a great sum of money in a failed business. The event itself is over, yet he continues to replay it. He feels himself to be a man who made a terrible mistake. He carries the weight of failure in every financial decision he makes. This memory becomes his secret identity. The world must then reflect it. Now imagine he revises it. He returns to that moment in imagination, not to judge it, but to redeem it. He sees the business not as a failure, but as a stepping stone. He imagines himself wiser because of it. He imagines the event as a blessing in disguise. He imagines the feeling of resilience, of triumph, of growth. He rewrites the meaning. And what happens? The subconscious accepts the revised feeling as the true seed, and the world begins to echo the new interpretation. Opportunities appear where before there was hesitation. People trust him because he now trusts himself. Money flows because the inner dam has been lifted. Revision is the healer of every financial wound. It is the eraser of every imagined failure. It is the redeemer of every painful memory tied to money. Some of you carry memories of poverty so old they feel like inherited truths. Memories of parents who worried over every penny. Memories of homes where we can't afford that was spoken as though it were scripture. But the past is not a chain, it is clay. Soft, malleable, obedient. Revisit those scenes. See your parents smiling as though cared for. See abundance where once there was fear. Rewrite every moment that taught you to shrink, to doubt, to expect the worst. For the world you experience tomorrow is shaped, not by the facts of yesterday, but by the meaning you assign to them today. I revised the past so thoroughly that the poverty of my youth lost all power over me. It became nothing more than a story I once told, not a law governing my future. And because I revised every memory tied to lack, I stepped into a life where abundance was natural. Apply this to money, to bills, to receipts, to debts, to purchases, to moments of embarrassment or fear. Revise them all. Cleanse the soil, purify the roots, and the harvest that follows will be one of wealth, ease, and freedom. What you revise in imagination becomes the seed of a new reality. And wealth, my friend, is simply the harvest of revised memory. There was a woman who once came to my lectures, a quiet soul with gentle eyes and a posture shaped by years of carrying burdens that did not belong to her. She worked tirelessly, cared for everyone around her, and yet never seemed able to rise above the constant strain of financial worry. Month after month, she scraped together just enough to survive, never enough to rest. One evening, after a lecture on revision, she approached me and said, almost in a whisper, Neville, I have lived in lack for so long that I no longer know how to imagine wealth. I told her, my dear, you do not need to imagine wealth. You need only to revise the feelings of the past that taught you to expect lack. Begin there. She looked uncertain, but she obeyed. Every night before sleep, she revisited memories of struggle, standing in long lines to pay overdue bills, receiving letters marked final notice, counting coins in her purse at a market stall. But instead of reliving these scenes as they happened, she rewrote them. She imagined her hand opening to reveal more than enough money. She imagined the clerk smiling gently and saying, "Everything is settled." She imagined herself leaving each scene with ease, with dignity, with the lightness of someone free. She did this night after night, not with strain, but with faithfulness. And then something remarkable happened. She told me later, "Neville, I woke one morning and felt different. Not rich in the sense of possessing money, but rich in the sense of possessing myself." She walked through her home as though the air had changed. She felt guided, cared for, carried. Within only a few weeks, her employer called her in unexpectedly and offered her a position far above her previous role, along with a salary more than double what she had earned in all her years. Soon after, a distant relative, one she had forgotten, left her a small inheritance. And then, out of nowhere, an investment she had made decades ago and written off as worthless suddenly matured into a sizable sum. She said to me, tears in her eyes, "Neville, I did nothing except revise the past. And somehow, the world revised itself to match." And I told her the truth. "My dear, you did not become rich. You discovered that you had never been poor." There was another man, one whose story still moves me deeply. He had been wealthy once, in the outer sense of the word, but through a series of unfortunate events, compounded by fear and resentment, he lost everything. His business crumbled, his savings vanished, and even his family distanced themselves. He came to me not as a student of the law, but as a broken man searching for hope in a world that no longer made sense. When he heard me speak of satiety, the state akin to sleep, he dismissed it at first as too simple. "Neville," he said, "you do not understand the magnitude of my losses." I looked at him and replied, "My friend, it is not the loss that binds you. It is the identity you have accepted because of it." And so, reluctantly, he tried. Each night he lay upon his bed, entered the quiet borderland between waking and sleep, and imagined a simple scene, his own hands holding a check. Not just any check, but one written for a sum so great it startled him. He did not count the digits. He did not try to understand how it could happen. He simply imagined the feeling of receiving a fortune, of having life returned to him with abundance. Night after night, he entered that state, and though no money appeared immediately, something far more important did. His sense of self began to shift. He stopped speaking of himself as a ruined man. He stopped replaying the events of loss. He stopped walking with the posture of someone defeated by fate. Instead, he became, in the imaginal sense, a recipient of wealth. Then, as always happens when the inner state is assumed, the outer world responded. One morning, he received a curious letter from a legal office he did not recognize. A distant relative he barely knew had passed away and left him an inheritance beyond anything he had imagined. The amount was so staggering that he wrote to me, saying, "Neville, I have in effect won the lottery without ever buying a ticket." But he had bought a ticket, an imaginal one, purchased with the coin of assumption. He had entered Semites as a poor man, and emerged in the world as a wealthy one. He had changed nothing but himself, and the world had no choice but to conform. Let me tell you another story, one that carries the tone of Scripture, though it happened in the modern world. A student of mine, a woman of great faith, but little earthly comfort, struggled with debts that seemed to grow faster than she could tend to them. She prayed constantly, but her prayers, though sincere, were filled with fear. She would say, "God, please help me," which in truth meant, "I am helpless." And the world, obedient to her inner confession, reflected helplessness. When she learned the law, she embraced it as though she had been waiting for it all her life. She revised every debt, imagining each one as a gift. She imagined opening envelopes that once caused dread and finding blessings instead. Refunds, unexpected checks, notes of gratitude. She imagined the hands that once demanded payment, now extending generosity. She wept with relief in her imaginal scenes, feeling the burden lifted. Soon after, she received notice that several of her debts had been forgiven due to administrative errors. Another was resolved, when a friend, without her asking, insisted on helping her. And one particularly large debt vanished entirely when the organization holding it dissolved in a restructuring of accounts. She told me, "Neville, it feels as though heaven intervened." And I replied, "It did. The heaven within you." Every transformation I have witnessed, whether financial, emotional, or spiritual, has carried the same pattern. A student hears the law, hesitates, tries, fails, resumes, persists, and then at last discovers that the world is not outside him, but within him. The moment he changes his inner state, the outer world shifts in obedience. One final story I must share, for it holds a power that touches even the most skeptical hearts. A man, worn down by years of striving, once came to me saying, "I no longer believe in miracles." I responded, "Then stop seeking miracles. Seek only to assume the feeling that would be yours if the miracle had already occurred." He was quiet for a long time. Then he said, "Neville, if the miracle had already occurred, I would feel peaceful." And I told him, "Then feel peace. That is your only task." He practiced this faithfully, entering sets each night with the gentle feeling of peace, warmth, and sufficiency. Not excitement, not greed, not striving, peace. Within months, an opportunity came to him that restored everything he had lost and more. Not because he chased it, but because he assumed the state from which it naturally arose. He wrote to me, "Neville, I did not find peace because my circumstances improved. My circumstances improved because I found peace." These stories are not exaggerations. They are not fantasies. They are not handed down to decorate the teaching. They are living proof, breathing testimonies of a law that has never failed and never will. They show that wealth, like every other manifestation, is born from within. They show that men and women who change their inner state inevitably change their outer world. They show that faithfulness to assumption produces results so precise, so gentle, so inevitable, that even the most rational mind must bow before their truth. And if it happened for them, it can happen for you. For the law plays no favorites. It responds only to the state you occupy. And the moment you assume the feeling of the wish fulfilled, whether of winning a fortune, receiving unexpected wealth, or stepping into a life of ease, your world begins to rearrange itself to mirror that inner truth. These testimonies stand not as stories of others, but as previews of what awaits you when you dare to become the one who has already received. There is a sacred moment each night, a moment so quiet, so unassuming, that most pass through it without ever recognizing its power. Yet, it is in that moment that creation bends to your will. I have called it the state akin to sleep. Sats, not because it is sleep, and not because it is waking, but because it is the mystical threshold between the two. It is the door to the subconscious, and when you learn to walk through this door with intention, you will reshape your world as effortlessly as you reshape a dream. Let me show you how to enter it. Salts begins with the body. You must first allow the body to sink into a posture of complete ease. In my early years, when I lived in small boarding houses and modest rooms, I would lie upon my narrow bed and arrange myself in the most relaxed position I could find. The goal was not comfort alone, it was surrender. The body must feel safe enough to yield. The muscles must soften. The breath must slow. The senses must loosen their grip upon the outer world. I would lie there listening to the faint sounds of the city, carriages rolling, distant voices drifting through the night air, and I would wait. Not impatiently, not eagerly, but with a quiet expectation, as though I were waiting for a familiar friend to approach. Slowly, the noise of the world would fade, not because it vanished, but because my attention withdrew from it. My eyelids would grow heavy, and the weight of the body would seem to dissolve into the mattress beneath me. This is the first sign when your body no longer demands your attention, when you can feel it, yet it no longer governs your awareness. You are not asleep, but you are no longer fully awake. You are drifting upon the surface of consciousness, carried by a gentle tide. Many have asked me, "Neville, how do I know I am in SATS?" and I tell them, you will know when the boundary between imagination and sensation becomes thin, when what you imagine feels more real than what you perceive through the senses. The second sign is the softening of the breath. It becomes slow, rhythmic, almost as though the body breathes for you. You no longer command it, you observe it. Breath becomes breeze, body becomes shadow. You remain as awareness alone, a quiet observer suspended between worlds. In these moments, the body may twitch or shift slightly. This is natural. It is simply the final protest of the physical self as it hands the reins to the imaginal one. Do not resist this. Let the body do what it must. You are not trying to sleep. You are entering a deeper level of wakefulness, a wakefulness directed inward rather than outward. Once the body has surrendered, you must surrender the mind. Not by force, not by silencing it abruptly, but by gently redirecting it. You do not command the mind to be still. You give it something better to contemplate. This is when silence becomes a right. I would summon the scene of my desire. Not a lengthy scene, not a complicated one, but a single moment that implied the fulfillment of my wish. If I sought abundance, I imagined the feeling of receiving a great sum, or hearing the words, "Congratulations, you've done it," or feeling the weight of a check in my hand. If I sought reconciliation, I imagined the embrace. If I sought freedom, I imagined the moment of release. Always a single scene, brief and to the point. Then I would place myself within that scene, not watching it as though it were a play, but living it as though it were happening now. I felt the texture of the objects, the warmth of the environment, the tone of the voices, the breath within my chest. I felt, above all else, the emotion. The emotion is the lifeblood of the act, for the subconscious does not respond to words, it responds to feeling. And it was here, in this sacred union of sensation and imagination, that I allowed the body to drift into stillness. I did not try to hold the scene with effort. I let it play softly, like a gentle lullaby. I repeated the imaginal act until it felt natural, until it felt inevitable. And when the feeling of fulfillment filled me completely, I surrendered to sleep. Sometimes I did not even reach the moment of sleep consciously. Sometimes the scene carried me into unconsciousness, without warning. But that does not matter. The seed was planted. The impression was given. The subconscious received the imaginal act as fact. There is something profoundly spiritual in this process. It resembles prayer, but it is deeper than prayer. It resembles meditation, but it is more directed than meditation. Sats is a communion with the creative power within you. It is the moment you step into your true identity, the operant power, the one who commands reality through assumption. Do not rush the entry into Sais. It is not a race. It is a descent, a gentle lowering of the conscious mind until you rest at the gate of creation. When the mind quiets enough and the body becomes still enough, imagination steps forward unchallenged. It becomes the only reality in the room. And once imagination has the stage, you must not bring in effort. Effort is born of disbelief. Ease is born of knowing. I learned, through many nights of practice, that the key to Sats is trust. You must trust the imaginal act more than you trust the senses. You must allow yourself to feel the fulfillment without demanding proof, for proof comes after. It is the shadow cast by the inner event. There were nights when I entered Sats so deeply that the imaginal scene felt more tangible than the bed beneath my body. I could touch the objects in my vision. I could hear the voices with absolute clarity. I could feel the emotions so powerfully that tears would rise in my physical body, even as I drifted into the invisible realm. That is Sats at its highest form. When imagination becomes experience, when the unseen world becomes the true world, when the outer world becomes the shadow, and the inner world becomes the substance. Do not worry if you do not reach this depth immediately. Even a light touch of sets carries immense power. The subconscious is far more receptive than you realize. It does not require theatrical performance. It requires sincerity of feeling. If you imagine lightly but feel deeply, the seed is planted. Each night, as I entered this sacred rite, I felt as though I was stepping into the workshop of the divine. And each morning, as I rose, I felt as though I was stepping into the harvest of the night before. I learned to trust the silence of sleep more than the noise of the day. For the day only reflects what the night conceives. This, my friend, is the science of the soul. This is the sacred art of assuming the wish fulfilled. This is the doorway through which miracles pass. And once you master Sats, you will understand why I say with absolute conviction, imagination creates reality. As we move deeper into this night together, I want you to understand the sacredness of what is about to occur. This is not merely a meditation. It is not simply a relaxation exercise or a pleasant escape from the troubles of the day. What you are approaching now is the ritual that determines the shape of your tomorrow. These next moments, quiet though they seem, hold more creative power than all the hours you spent awake. For as the world withdraws and the senses grow dim, you step into the chamber where the law receives its command. The first step is to reduce the noise of the outer world. In my early years, when I lived in small, crowded rooms with thin walls and restless streets outside, I learned something invaluable. Silence is not the absence of sound. Silence is the absence of attention. You need not wait for the world to grow quiet. You must simply withdraw your interest from it. Let the day fall away. Let the conversations dissolve. Let the worries loosen their grip. Everything that has clamored for your attention through the hours of sunlight can now be set aside. I would often sit at the edge of my bed and feel the faint hum of the city around me. People moving in hallways, carriage wheels rattling over cobblestone, radios murmuring in distant rooms, yet I allowed it all to recede. I did not resist it. I did not fight it. I simply let my awareness drift inward, as though the outer world were fading like the afterimage of a dream. This gentle withdrawal is the beginning of the ritual. Now, allow yourself to release the day. Whatever has occurred, pleasant or painful, has no rightful place in the chamber of creation. Lay it down as you would remove a garment. You are not taking the day into your future. You are entering the threshold where a new day is conceived. Let the thoughts of what you did or did not accomplish slip away. Let the emotions that weighed upon you soften. Let the questions, the doubts, the unfinished tasks lose their urgency. Nothing is required of you now except presence. As the mind quiets, the second movement of this ritual begins, the declaration of identity. Before you enter the state akin to sleep, you must speak, not with the tongue, but with the heart, the truth of who you choose to be. For identity is the doorway through which all manifestation passes. If you wish to enter the world as the wealthy man, you must first become him within. In those years when I first tested this law, I would lie down upon my bed and whisper, not aloud, but inwardly, I am wealthy. I am provided for. I have already received, not as a plea, not as a wish, but as a quiet acknowledgement, a remembering, a returning to the truth I had planted within myself. I did not recite the words like a chant. I let them rise from my being like breath. Each repetition softened the mind, loosened the grip of the day, and eased me into the identity I desired. You must declare wealth in this way, not as a hope, but as a state. You are not calling for money. You are stepping into the man who already possesses it. Feel the dignity of that. Feel the ease. Feel the quiet relief of knowing that all things are handled, that all obligations are met, that you have stepped into a life of abundance so complete that worry cannot reach you. Imagine yourself standing at the threshold of a grand home, not as a visitor, but as its owner. Imagine yourself giving freely, helping others with grace and joy. Imagine the feeling of opening your hand and never fearing what leaves it, for you know the source is infinite. These are not fantasies. These are rehearsals of identity, and identity is the birthplace of manifestation. As you prepare for the deeper descent into Sats, let your body respond to this new identity. Feel your posture shift, even as you lie down. A wealthy man does not carry tension in his shoulders. A wealthy woman does not clench her jaw. Allow your muscles to soften. in response to the inner truth you are claiming. For the body listens to the mind. And when the mind declares wealth, the body relaxes into the safety of abundance. During these moments, the final remnants of the day may attempt to rise again. Old concerns, habitual thoughts, familiar anxieties. Do not wrestle with them. Treat them as shadows passing across the floor. Let them come and let them go. You are not interested in their message anymore. You have chosen a new state, and the old one cannot follow you into it. Now feel the man who has already won the 100 million. Not the man who hopes to win. Not the man who tries to win. The man who has already received. Feel how he breathes. Slow, steady, unhurried. Feel the quality of his thoughts. Calm, confident, satisfied. He walks with a different rhythm. He speaks with a different tone. He sleeps with a different heart. Become him. Wear him like a garment. This is not make-believe. This is creation. This is the moment the seed is planted. This is the moment the subconscious bows to the identity you assume. Let the breath grow softer. Let the lids grow heavier. Let the body become weightless. You are crossing the threshold now. You are standing between worlds. The world of the senses behind you. The world of imagination before you. Declaring your wealth is not enough. You must feel it as though it were the air itself. Feel the certainty. Feel the inevitability. Feel the stillness that comes when nothing is missing. As you sink deeper into this ritual, know that you are not pursuing wealth. You are stepping into the self who already holds it. And once you enter that self fully, the world will begin its quiet, perfect rearrangement to reflect the truth you have embraced. You are not becoming the wealthy one. You are remembering him. Breathe slowly. Now, allow the body to soften. Allow the day to fade behind you like a distant dream dissolving in water. Nothing is required of you in this moment. Nothing must be solved. Nothing must be answered. You are entering the chamber of creation, and you do so with ease. Feel the sheets beneath your body. Not as the sheets of the one who hopes, not as the sheets of the one who waits, but as the sheets of a wealthy man, a wealthy woman, a being who rests in abundance, so complete, so assured, that every breath is a quiet declaration of it is done. Let the body sink. Let it grow heavy, warm, and peaceful. Feel yourself supported, completely, effortlessly. Nothing pulls you forward. Nothing pulls you back. You are suspended in perfect rest. Now listen. Not to the noises of the world, not to the hum of life outside your window, but to the deeper silence beneath all things. Hear the silence of abundance, a silence that does not tremble with fear, a silence that does not question, a silence that simply is. Wealth does not shout, it hums, it breathes, it glows quietly in the background of your being. Let that silence surround you now. Let it rise from the floor, from the walls, from the air itself, until it enfolds you like a warm cloak. Tonight you sleep as one who has already won the 100 million. Not tomorrow, not someday. Now, this moment, this breath, this identity. Feel the shift. Feel the subtle, beautiful change in the way you lie upon the bed. A wealthy man does not tense his shoulders, he releases them. A wealthy woman does not clutch the blankets for safety. She rests openly, freely, knowing she is held by life itself. Let the body adopt that posture now, loose, open, unguarded. For you no longer sleep as one who needs protection. You sleep as the one who possesses all he desires. Slow your breathing. Inhale gently. Exhale softly, as though each breath were a quiet wave rolling onto the shore. Let the breath grow shallow now. Effortless, automatic. You are descending into the inner chamber. Now imagine the room dimming, not fading, but softening. The edges of the world becoming round, warm, blurred. The light turning golden behind your eyelids. Let the outer world dissolve like sand slipping between your fingers. You are becoming aware only of the inner world. Now imagine, if only lightly, the feeling of your hand closing around a thick envelope. Feel its weight, feel its texture. Hear the faint rustle as your fingers tighten around it. Inside that envelope is the check. Not the promise of it, not the hope of it. The check itself. Do not try to see the numbers. Numbers do not matter. Feel the significance. Feel the magnitude. Feel the certainty. Hold it gently in your imagination, as though it were real, as though it were already yours, for in this moment it is. Now imagine someone whose voice you trust, standing before you, smiling with quiet pride. Hear them say, slowly, softly, you've done it. Feel those words settle into your chest. Feel the warmth expanding. Feel the joy rising, not as excitement, but as deep relief. Relief that flows through your entire being like warm water. Let yourself whisper inwardly, no more fear, no more waiting, no more lack. I am the one who has already received. Repeat it gently, not as a chant, but as a lullaby. The soul recognizes, I am the one who has already received. Feel the shift again. Feel the identity becoming steady, certain, familiar. You are not imagining a future, you are remembering a truth. Now let us deepen this state. Imagine you are lying not in your room, but in a grand bed within your own beautiful home. Feel the softness of the mattress, the weight of the blankets, the coolness of the fabric against your skin. But above all, feel the security of knowing this home is mine, this life is mine, this wealth is mine. See the faint glow of moonlight across the room. The silence that fills a home where everything is paid, everything is handled, everything is abundantly cared for. Imagine the faint scent of polished wood, or soft linen, or whatever fragrance belongs to a life of ease. Let the room become real to you. Let it rise around you like a dream, becoming solid. Now imagine your breath stirring the air of that room. This is the breath of a wealthy being. Slow, steady, unhurried. Every inhale whispers, I have. Every exhale whispers, I am. Remain here. Let the scene deepen. Feel yourself roll gently onto your side. Not hurriedly, but with the ease of someone who has nothing to fear, nothing to chase, nothing to lose. You have won. It is done. Imagine turning your head slightly into the pillow and feeling the fabric warm against your cheek. Feel how soft it is, how luxurious. This is the pillow of one who has already won the great prize. Now imagine the sensation of drifting, not down, but inward, as though you are sinking into a warm pool of golden light. Let thoughts slow. Let the breath soften further. Let the eyelids grow heavy. You are entering the depth where imagination becomes reality. Now listen inwardly for my voice, not as sound, but as knowing. Tonight you sleep as one who has already won the 100 million. Tonight you enter the dream as the wealthy one. Tonight, the subconscious receives your identity with perfect obedience. Feel the truth of it. Feel the inevitability. Feel the peace. Let us imagine one more scene before you drift deeper. Imagine yourself stepping into your bank, years into the future. Not the hopeful version of you, not the uncertain one, but the you who has lived as wealthy for so long that it is simply the air you breathe. Feel the floor beneath your feet. Feel the quiet confidence in your stride. Hear the teller greet you warmly, respectfully. Imagine handing them a check. Your check. A check so large that the teller's eyebrows lift with astonished admiration. Not from disbelief, but from respect. Hear them say, congratulations. Truly, feel that moment. Let it enter you. Let it settle in your chest, like an anchor of certainty. Now let that scene fade, gently, like a candle dimming in a quiet room. Return to your breath, slow, soft, warm. Let the body sink even deeper into rest. You are floating now, floating inward, floating into the state that creates worlds. You are the wealthy one. You are the one who has received. You are the one who sleeps tonight in abundance. You are the one whose world will rearrange itself beginning tomorrow. Let everything fade now. Let my voice become distant. Let the silence grow larger. Let the breath become lighter. Float, drift, surrender. You have already won. Now as you lie there, Drifting between waking and sleep, I will begin to impress upon you the living code of wealth. I will not shout it. I will not force it. I will let it move through you like a gentle tide, again and again, until your whole being accepts it as natural. Within yourself, softly, without moving your lips, say, I am wealthy. Say it as though you meant it. Say it as though it were the most obvious thing in the world. I am wealthy. Do not wait for a future day. Do not place it far away. Let it be now. I am wealthy. Now. Feel how those words sit inside your chest. Let them spread like warmth in your heart, like a quiet fire in your belly. I am wealthy. Again, gently. I am wealthy. I am wealthy. I am wealthy. I am wealthy. Now add this, I already possess the fortune. Not I will possess, not one day I shall. I already possess the fortune. Let that sentence be like a soft weight in your hands, as though you truly held a fortune. Feel the certainty of it. I already possess the fortune. Breathe in slowly. And as you exhale, let the phrase flow through you. I already possess the fortune. It is mine in consciousness. It must be mine in fact. Again, I already possess the fortune. I tell you, the moment you assume it, the world must bend. So now we add, everything I touch prospers. Say it inwardly, everything I touch prospers. See yourself touching the smallest things of your day. A letter, a tool, a door handle, a simple coin. And know that everything you lay your hand upon is blessed by the state you carry. Everything I touch prospers. Say it again. Everything I touch prospers. Everything I touch increases. Everything I touch is lifted by the wealth that I am. Let it become a rhythm with your breath. Inhale, exhale. Everything I touch prospers. Now hear another truth, and let it become your own. The world bends to my inner state. Say it within, the world bends to my inner state. You are not a victim of circumstance. You are not at the mercy of numbers and chances. You are the cause. The world bends to my inner state. Say it slowly, with authority. The world bends to my inner state. Life rearranges itself around what I assume to be true of myself. If you once believed that you had to chase, that you had to beg, that you had to earn every crumb, let that belief die now. Softly. Again. The world bends to my inner state. And now, this I won, the 100 million, the moment I assumed it. Not the moment they announced it. Not the moment the paper printed it. The moment you assumed it. Say it within yourself. I won the 100 million the moment I assumed it. Feel the weight of that sentence. You are not waiting for proof. You are recognizing a fact in consciousness. I won the 100 million the moment I assumed it. Let us weave them together now, like a soft chant in the silence of your being. I am wealthy. I already possess the fortune. Everything I touch prospers. The world bends to my inner state. I won the 100 million the moment I assumed it. Let those sentences drift through you like waves rolling onto a quiet shore. No strain, no effort, only rhythm. Again, but more slowly. I am wealthy. Pause, feel. I already possess the fortune. Pause, feel. Everything I touch prospers. Pause, feel. The world bends to my inner state. Pause, feel. I won the 100 million the moment I assumed it. Pause, feel. Now let us color these words with images. When you say, I am wealthy, see yourself walking through a day in which money is no concern. You move calmly. You speak gently. You give freely. You are not counting the coins. You are counting blessings. I am wealthy. When you say, I already possess the fortune, imagine the feeling of knowing that somewhere, whether in an account, in a property, in a contract, the fortune is secured in your name. You may not be holding the paper at this second, but you hold the fact in your heart. I already possess the fortune. When you say, everything I touch prospers, imagine a garden. Each thing you touch in that garden springs to life. A withered plant becomes green again. Dry soil becomes rich and dark. This is what your inner state does to the events and people you meet. Everything I touch prospers. When you say, the world bends to my inner state, imagine the world as a great, fluid curtain, shaping itself around your posture. If you stand in wealth, the curtain folds into forms that match wealth. If you stand in lack, it must bend to lack. You are now choosing to stand firmly in wealth. The world bends to my inner state. And when you say, I won the 100 million the moment I assumed it, feel a quiet smile forming, not on your face only, but deep within you. The smile of one who knows, the smile of one who stands on the other side of the wish. I won the 100 million the moment I assumed it. Now let the phrases begin to repeat, not as arguments, but as gentle declarations, as the way you introduce yourself to life. I am wealthy. I am not becoming wealthy. I am. I already possess the fortune. The fortune is not coming. It is mine, in consciousness, now. Everything I touch prospers. Every conversation, every idea, every project, every day, everything I touch prospers. The world bends to my inner state. I do not chase outcomes. Outcomes come to me. I do not bow before circumstances. Circumstances bow before my assumption. I won the 100 million the moment I assumed it, the moment I dared to accept it as true within. Everything changed. Breathe. And let those truths move like a current around your heart. Now I will give you slight variations, so that your mind does not grow numb, but your heart grows sure. I am the wealthy one. I am the one for whom things always work out. I am the one to whom fortune flows. I already hold the great prize in my inner hands. I already own the treasure in imagination, and imagination is the only reality. Wherever I go, increase follows me. Wherever I stand, things rise. Wherever I look, opportunities appear. Everything I touch prospers. Life has no choice but to echo my inner conviction. The world cannot resist my assumption. The world bends, again and again, to my inner state. In the moment I said within myself, I have it. The 100 million was mine. In that instant, the bridge of incidents began. The prize was settled when I assumed it, not when others saw it. Let those words wash through you. If you feel doubt, do not fight it. Simply turn back to the code gently, like turning your face back to the sun. I am wealthy. If a memory of lack arises, do not wrestle with it. Let it fade, and cover it with this. I already possess the fortune. If you catch yourself fearing tomorrow, answer softly. Everything I touch prospers. If you are tempted to think that the world is against you, correct it immediately with the world bends to my inner state. If you hear the old voice saying, you have not won, answer quietly but firmly. I won the 100 million the moment I assumed it. Now allow a little silence. Let the words sink deeper than thought, into feeling, into being. Again softly, as though you are rocking your own soul to sleep. I am wealthy. I already possess the fortune. Everything I touch prospers. The world bends to my inner state. And I won the 100 million the moment I assumed it. You may shorten them in your own heart as you drift. I am wealthy. I possess the fortune. Everything prospers around me. The world obeys my inner state. I have already won. Let these become like the beating of your inner heart. With each breath, one thought. Inhale. I am wealthy. Exhale. I already possess the fortune. Inhale. Everything I touch prospers. Exhale. The world bends to my inner state. Inhale. I won the 100 million. Exhale. The moment I assumed it. Do not rush. Let it be slow, like a lullaby. If sleep begins to pull you, let it. You do not need to cling to the words. The impression is already being made. The code is already written on the subconscious. But until sleep fully takes you, remain here, in this gentle current. I am wealthy. This is who I am now. I already possess the fortune. It lives within me. Everything I touch prospers. My very presence is blessing. The world bends to my inner state. I am no longer a victim of chance. I won the 100 million the moment I assumed it. The prize is mine in consciousness, and what is mine within must appear without. Let a faint smile rise in you, even if the lips do not move. The smile of the man who has already received. The smile of the woman who has already crossed the finish line. You do not strain for this. You do not force this. You allow it. I am wealthy. Say it once more, very quietly within. I am wealthy. Now let it fall into silence. Let it sink beneath words. Let it become simply the way you exist. You are not reciting a phrase. You are resting in an identity. The fortune is already yours, in the only place that matters, in consciousness. And consciousness, I tell you, always becomes the world. Everything you touch prospers. The world bends to your inner state. You have already won. Now drift softly, gently, into sleep, as the wealthy one. And now, my friend, as the night deepens, and your body grows heavier upon the bed, we move from the spoken word into the living picture. We have declared the code. Again and again we have said, I am wealthy. I already possess the fortune. The world bends to my inner state. Those words have gone forth as seeds into the rich soil of your own subconscious. Now we will water them with images. For what the word declares, the picture confirms, and what the feeling embraces must in time harden into fact. You have repeated the code until it begins to feel more familiar, perhaps even a little natural. You have allowed the words, I am wealthy, to rest upon you like a soft cloak. Now I will lead you into a series of imaginal scenes, gentle and slow, so simple that, even in drowsiness, you can follow them. You do not need to strain. You do not need to see them with perfect clarity. You need only accept the idea of them and permit the feeling of them to rise within you. I will walk with you in consciousness. I will speak as though I am at your bedside, guiding you from this world of shadows into the inner chamber where all true riches are conceived. So let the outer day go. Let the last traces of its noise fall away from you. Whatever was spent, whatever was lost, whatever seemed difficult, you may release it now. You are not carrying the day into the night. You are stepping into something entirely new. You are not going to sleep as the old self. You are going to sleep as the one who has already won the great prize of life, the realization of your own inner wealth. And to help you feel this more deeply, I invite you now to follow me into the first vision, what I shall call the golden room of infinite wealth. Lie back a little more comfortably, if you can. Feel the weight of your body supported. Let your hands rest easily where they are. You do not have to move a muscle. Become aware of your breathing. Not to control it, but simply to notice that it is already softening, already slowing, as though something within you is saying, peace, be still. Each breath is a gentle wave, flowing in and out, carrying away the remnants of the day and drawing you nearer to the shore of your inner world. Now in your imagination, only in your imagination, see if you can allow a simple scene to appear. Do not force it. Do not demand that it be bright and sharp. Let it come as a suggestion, a faint outline, a mood. Imagine that you are standing before a great door. The world behind you is dim and quiet. The day is finished. Before you is this door, tall and solid, with an old handle that fits perfectly in your hand. No one else is here. There is only you, the door, and a sense of quiet expectancy. As you stand before this door in imagination, you know within yourself that this is not an ordinary door. This is the entrance to a secret chamber within your own being, a room that has always existed in the depths of your consciousness, though you may not have entered it until now. It is the inner treasury, the place where wealth is not counted in coins first, but in states of being. It is the place where you, as imagination, store the sense of abundance, the feeling of infinite supply. Lift your imaginal hand now and rest it upon the handle. Feel its coolness, its solidity. Feel how naturally your fingers curl around it. There is no hurry. There is no strain. You are simply standing here, ready to step into a room that belongs to you by right of consciousness. And as you touch the handle, quietly say within yourself, I am about to enter my golden room of infinite wealth. Let the words be soft, hardly more than a breath, but let them be sincere. Now gently turn the handle in your mind. Hear the faint click as the latch releases. Slowly push the door inward. At once, a warm light spills out toward you, a soft golden radiance, not harsh, not blinding, but gentle, like sunlight filtered through fine curtains. Step over the threshold in imagination. You have left behind the feeling of limitation. You have crossed into the atmosphere of wealth. Stand just inside the doorway for a moment, and let your inner eyes adjust to the scene. You are in a large room, high-ceilinged and spacious, yet intimate as though it were made precisely to fit you. Everything in this room glows with a mild golden light. The walls are lined with shelves and cabinets, beautifully crafted, polished to a quiet shine. The floor beneath your feet feels firm and sure, and yet there is a softness to it, as though it welcomes your step. Take a slow imaginal breath and feel the air of this room. It is rich, but not heavy. There is a faint fragrance, perhaps a mixture of old wood, warm light, and something like new parchment. It is the scent of value, of substance, of things well kept and overflowing. This is not the stale air of scarcity. This is the living atmosphere of abundance. Now I want you to notice something remarkable. In this golden room, every object you see, every surface you touch, every detail that comes into your awareness exists solely to remind you of your own wealth. There is not a single symbol of lack here. There is no emptiness, no dust, no forgotten corners. Everywhere there is evidence of overflowing sufficiency. Look to your left in imagination and see a long shelf running along the wall. Upon this shelf are boxes, strong, beautifully made boxes, each one trimmed with gold. Lift the lid of one in your mind. Inside you see stacks of documents, neatly arranged. You do not have to read every word, but you know by a kind of inner knowing that each paper is a symbol of wealth, a contract in your favor, a deed, a certificate, a statement of credit, all bearing one name, yours. As you look at the nearest document, allow the letters to form clearly enough for you to recognize your own name inscribed there. You may not see each line perfectly, but you know, this belongs to me. This is my wealth. These papers do not speak of debt. They do not accuse you. They proclaim that all that is here is already yours, by assumption. Set the lid back on the box and rest your imaginary hand upon it. Feel the weight of what it contains, the solidity of its value. And now, quietly, in the most natural tone you can manage, say within yourself, this room is mine. This wealth is mine. I am the one who owns this treasury. Let the words fall into the silence, like warm drops of oil upon the surface of your mind. As you move deeper into the room, notice that there are tables placed here and there, and upon them are laid coins, not scattered, not lost, but arranged in small, gleaming stacks. They do not clink with anxiety. They rest in perfect order. Pick up one of these coins in imagination. Feel its weight on your palm. Let it press against your skin. It is solid. It is real to your feeling. Look at it closely in your mind's eye. You may imagine it as old or new, bright or softly worn, but on its surface you sense the imprint of infinite supply. It is not a meager coin. It is a symbol of inexhaustible wealth. As you hold it, notice something curious. It seems to hum with a living energy, as though it were not mere metal, but condensed consciousness, frozen light. Now, very slowly, close your imaginary fingers around the coin. Feel your hand close, not in greed, but in acceptance. You are not grabbing, you are receiving. Say quietly within yourself, I receive this as natural. I am the one to whom wealth belongs. Feel how right it is. Feel how fitting it is that you, and not another, are the owner of this coin, and all it represents. Place the coin back upon the table, or if it feels more natural, slip it into your pocket, knowing that in this golden room there is no loss. Whatever you take in imagination multiplies. If you lift one coin, 10 appear. If you accept one symbol of wealth, the room responds by producing more. You cannot diminish this treasury. You only reveal more of it by your acceptance. Walk a little farther now. Hear your own footsteps upon the floor, soft, steady, unhurried. You are not wandering. You are exploring your own inner inheritance. You come now to a tall cabinet against the far wall. Its doors are closed, but it beckons you quietly. Reach out and touch its handle. Feel the smoothness of the metal cool beneath your fingers. Open the doors gently. Inside you see rows of ledgers, bound in fine materials, each one bearing your name upon the spine. These are the records of your wealth consciousness. Each page is filled, not with debts and deficits, but with credits, with increase, with multiplication. You may imagine, if you like, that where the world once wrote owed, these lines now read, paid in full, or abundantly supplied. Take one ledger down and open it in your hands. Turn a page. On this page, you see a simple entry, not in numbers alone, but in words. It reads something like this. Tonight he assumed himself wealthy. Tonight she accepted herself as the one who has already won. From this night forward, all things conspire for his prosperity, for her abundance. Let this be the record that now stands in your inner book. Close the ledger and place it back upon the shelf. As you do, feel a quiet joy rise within you. Not the noisy excitement of chance, but the deep stillness of certainty. In this golden room there is nothing hurried, nothing desperate. This is not the atmosphere of gambling. This is the atmosphere of law. Here, wealth is not a stroke of luck. It is the natural outpicturing of the state you have assumed. Now I want you to notice something more. As you stand in the center of this room, the golden light seems to respond to your very breathing. With each breath in, the light grows warmer, embracing you. With each breath out, you feel a little more of the old fear leaving you. Let your chest rise and fall gently. With every inhalation, feel as though you are drawing in this rich, golden atmosphere of abundance. With every exhalation, feel as though you are releasing any last trace of lack. Inhale, and silently think, I breathe in infinite wealth. Exhale, and silently think, I release all sense of poverty. Do this a few times, very softly, very slowly, as though the room itself were breathing with you. You and the golden room are one being, one consciousness, one field of wealth. Now become aware of yourself, standing there as a figure. See if you can imagine your own body as being gently lit by this golden glow. Your shoulders soften, the lines from your face ease, the tension in your hands melts. You notice that you stand a little taller here, not from pride, but from the natural dignity of one who knows he is provided for. You are not begging in this room. You are not pleading for help. You are acknowledging what already is in imagination. Listen now, not with your outer ears, but with the ear of your heart. And hear me say to you, this is who you are. You are the heir of this golden room. You are the operant power. You are the consciousness that called this treasury into being. The wealth in this room is nothing but your own awareness of abundance, made visible in symbol. Take it to heart. In this room, everything says, I am wealthy. Allow that simple sentence to rise once more within you. I am wealthy, not as a loud shout, but as a quiet recognition. You might hear it as though it were spoken by your own deeper self, echoing softly from the walls, from the shelves, from the very light itself. It is as though the entire room were whispering, you are wealthy, you are wealthy, you are wealthy. Now slowly turn in a complete circle in imagination and take in the whole scene. Shelves of treasure, boxes of documents in your favor, tables with coins and symbols of value, cabinets filled with ledgers of increase, a warm golden light that blesses everything it touches, and at the very center of it all, you standing calm, at ease, at home in this atmosphere of plenty. Let the feeling of being at home here soak into you. You are not a visitor. You are not a stranger to wealth. You belong in this room. This is your natural environment in consciousness. This is how it feels to have already won the great prize. There is no nervous waiting for results here. There is only the knowledge that the inner state is established, and the outer world must follow. If any thought of the old world tries to creep in, a bill a worry, a memory of lack, do not fight it. Simply see it as a scrap of faded paper that you now carry to a small golden fire in the corner of the room. In imagination, place that scrap into the flame and watch it dissolve instantly, leaving behind only a tiny spiral of light that rises and disappears into the glow. In this room, even your former fears are transformed into light. Now, as you stand there, feel the floor beneath you as utterly secure. Feel the walls around you as utterly protective. Feel the air as utterly generous. Everything in this room supports one idea, and one alone. You are already in possession of infinite wealth in consciousness. You have in this moment stepped into the state of the one who has already won the $100 million, not as numbers on a ticket, but as the certainty of infinite supply. Let this certainty be quiet. It does not need to shout. It does not need to argue. It simply is. You know, as you stand in this golden room, that when you leave it and return to the outer world, that world will begin, little by little, to rearrange itself to match this inner treasury. People, events, opportunities, ideas, these will be drawn to you as naturally as metal to a magnet, for they are only the shadow of the wealth you now hold within. Take one last slow turn of the head in imagination and bless this room. Give thanks for it, not as something you hope to find, but as something you have now entered and claimed. If you like, you may quietly say, "Thank you, Father, that this is already mine," or simply feel gratitude rise in your chest like a warm tide. Gratitude is the sure sign of possession. Now we will not slam the door on this room. We will not leave it behind as though it were a dream. Instead, we will understand that this golden room is not something separate from you. You will carry it with you into sleep. You will lie down upon your bed outwardly, but inwardly you will remain here, wrapped in this golden atmosphere, surrounded by these symbols of infinite wealth. So in imagination, walk gently back toward the doorway. But notice something as you approach it. The room does not grow dimmer. The light does not fade. Instead, it seems to draw even closer to you, as though it were folding itself into your very being. Place your hand once more upon the handle, but this time, as you touch it, feel that the entire golden room is now contained within your own chest, within your own heart. Step through the doorway, knowing that you have not left the room behind. You have absorbed it. You are the golden room. Your consciousness is the treasury. Your I am is the source of all that wealth. As the imaginary door closes softly behind you, feel the golden light still all around you, even now, as you lie upon your bed. Let your breath be slow. Let your thoughts grow softer. Let your body drift nearer to sleep. But do not let go of the feeling that you are already rich in the depths of your being. You have walked the halls of your own inner fortune. You have handled its symbols. You have heard its quiet verdict. You are wealthy. As you sink more deeply into rest, allow that feeling to be the last clear impression upon your mind. Let the golden room of infinite wealth be the place from which you fall into sleep. For when you sleep in that room in imagination, you will wake to a world that has no choice but to reflect, in its own way and in its own time, the wealth you have accepted within. And now, my friend, as you rest in this golden atmosphere, as the memory of that inner room lingers softly in your chest, we will let the vision deepen and become even more personal. A room of wealth is a beautiful beginning, but tonight I want to take you further. It is one thing to stand in a chamber of abundance. It is another to know, beyond question, that everything in that chamber is marked as yours. You have walked through the golden room of infinite wealth. You have felt the light, the coins, the documents of increase. You have breathed the air of abundance. Now I will lead you into a treasury where there is no uncertainty, no doubt, no confusion. In this place, there is no wondering, is this really mine? Every chest, every document, every symbol of wealth already bears your name. You are not hoping to inherit it. You have already inherited it in consciousness. So once more, let your body sink a little deeper into the bed. Feel the weight of your limbs. Feel your head supported. Your breathing is slow and easy, like the tide. There is nothing for you to do in the outer world now. All the work of the day is finished. What we do from this moment is done in the inner world alone, and in that world you are free, powerful, and entirely at home. In your imagination, feel as though you are standing again, not in the outer room now, but in a corridor leading deeper into your own inner palace. Behind you, the golden room glows gently. Ahead of you, there is another doorway, tall and arched, framed in stone that seems to shimmer faintly. The light seeping from beneath the door is softer, more focused, like a warm beam of sunlight entering a vault. You know, as you stand in this corridor, that beyond this door lies what I shall call the treasury that already bears your name. Not a single item in that place belongs to another. There is no competition there, no comparison, no sense of his or hers. There is only the quiet certainty of mine, not in the sense of greedy ownership, but in the sense of rightful inheritance, of natural belonging. Bring your imaginal hand up and rest it gently upon the surface of this door. Feel its solidity. Perhaps it is made of heavy wood, perhaps of old metal, perhaps of carved stone. Let it be whatever feels most real to you. Under your hand you notice, carved or engraved into the door itself, your name. See it there, as clearly as you can. If you cannot see each letter perfectly, that is all right. Feel the knowing. My name is written here. This is my treasury. Now very slowly, draw the door open. As you do, a cool, rich air greets you, a stillness filled with quiet power. Step across the threshold, and as you enter, allow your inner eyes to adjust. You are in a long vaulted chamber, stretching out before you. The ceiling arches overhead like the inside of a great cathedral. The walls are lined with shelves, niches, and recesses, and from floor to ceiling there are chests, boxes, scrolls, ledgers, and documents, all resting in perfect order. Take a step forward in imagination and listen to the sound of your own footsteps on the stone or marble floor, soft, steady, echoing faintly in the great hall. There is no noise here but your own movement and the deep, living silence of a place that has been waiting just for you. This is not a public hall. It is not a shared vault. It is a private treasury, and you are its sole heir. Look to your right. You see a series of large chests, each one locked, but not against you. On the front of each chest, there is a metal plate, and on each plate, engraved clearly, you see your own name. Not the name of another, not the name of a stranger, but yours. Your name again and again in various forms, each one declaring quietly, "This belongs to you." Let yourself walk to the nearest chest. As you stand before it, rest your imaginary hand upon the lid. Feel the firmness of it, the weight, the sense that it is filled to overflowing with treasures of great value. You do not need to know precisely what is inside: coins, jewels, deeds, opportunities, ideas, channels of income. You only know that whatever it contains is perfectly fitted to your life, your path, your expression of wealth. Run your fingers lightly over the engraved plate. Feel the grooves of the letters that spell your name. They are not shallow scratches. They are deeply cut, permanent, unshakable. No one can erase them. No one can replace them. This chest has been set aside for you from the beginning. Now in your mind, imagine that there is a key already in your hand. You did not have to search for it. You did not have to earn it. It is simply there, as natural to you as your own breath. Feel the key between your fingers, its weight, its coolness. It fits your hand perfectly. Bring it down to the lock on the chest. The key slides in without resistance, for it was always made for this very lock. Turn it gently. Hear the soft click as the lock yields. Lift the lid. As it rises, a warm light seems to spill out, illuminating your face, your hands, the surrounding space. Inside the chest, there are bundles of documents, tied with ribbons, sealed with marks of authority. There may be coin, there may be gold, there may be jewels. But I want you to focus first on the papers, for these represent the arrangement of your life, the contracts of your wealth, the written confirmations that the world must eventually echo. Pick up one bundle. As you untie the ribbon in imagination, a sense of ease flows through you. There is no anxiety. There is no fear of what you might find. You already know that every line in these papers is in your favor. Open the top document. You do not have to read each word. It is enough to see that at the top, in clear letters, is written your name, and beneath it, words like entitled to, in possession of, fully provided for, paid to the order of, held in trust for, all referring to you. If numbers seem to appear on the page, let them be as vast as feels comfortable. Amounts that once would have startled you, but now only bring a calm recognition. Yes, you think, that is right. That belongs to me now. Feel the quiet thrill of it, but let that thrill be anchored in peace, not in restlessness. This is not winnings from chance. This is the outpicturing of a law you have accepted. Place that document back in the chest, and know that there are many more like it. Though you have only glanced at one or two, you understand that every paper, every page, every seal is another testimony that the treasure in this chamber bears your name. Close the lid of this chest gently, leaving it unlocked, for there is no need to lock what is already yours in consciousness. You do not guard it with fear. You rest in the certainty that it cannot be taken from you. Walk slowly down the row. As you pass each chest, notice again your name upon each plate. Perhaps on one it appears in full, on another as initials, on another in a stylized form. But there is no doubt. Over and over, this hall says to you, this is already yours. Now turn your gaze upward, toward the shelves lining the walls. They hold scrolls and books, each one bearing a label. As you walk closer, you see that on these labels too, your name is written. There is a ledger of opportunities already assigned to me, another of channels of income already opened, another of support already arranged, another of gifts already on their way, all in your name. Let yourself take one of these books down. Feel its weight in your hands. The cover is sturdy, the pages thick. Open it somewhere in the middle. As you look at the page, do not strain to see every line. Instead, let the feeling come that every entry is an event, a circumstance, a meeting, an idea, a path that leads you to the full expression of the wealth you have assumed. Each line is a step of the bridge of incidents already written, already ordained by your own I am. On the top corner of the page, your name again, no one else's. This is not your neighbor's book. It is not your family's. It is not a comparison. It is your own private script of abundance. Close the book and return it carefully. As you do, look along the row and see how many there are. Volume after volume, book upon book, all inscribed with your name. You could not possibly read them all this night. You do not need to. It is enough to know they exist, that the law has already written countless ways in which your inner wealth will show itself. Walk now toward the center of the hall. Beneath the high arch, there is a long table, and upon this table lies a single, large document, unrolled and waiting. Approach it. As you come near, you feel a certain hush, a new intensity of stillness, as though you were coming to the very heart of this treasury. Stand at the table and look down at the document. At its top, in bold and beautiful script, is your full name. Just below, in simple but powerful words, is written something like this: by the authority of I am, all that this treasury contains is hereby recognized as belonging to your name. This wealth is not begged for, but assumed. It is not borrowed, but inherited. It is not uncertain, but certain. From this moment, the consciousness of this one is wealth itself. Let yourself read those words slowly, not with your outer eyes, but with your inner understanding. Feel each phrase sink into you as though it were being spoken inside your chest. By the authority of I am, that is your true name, the name of God in you. It is this authority, not the world's opinion, that seals your wealth. All that this treasury contains is hereby recognized as belonging to. And then your name, not will belong, not might belong. Belonging now in the only place that matters first, your own inner state. This wealth is not begged for, but assumed. You are not asking anyone to give it to you. You are claiming it as your identity. It is not borrowed, but inherited. There is no debt attached to it. It is not uncertain, but certain. There is no maybe here, only law. From this moment, the consciousness of this one is wealth itself. Let that last line ring in you. Not merely that you have wealth, but that your very awareness is wealth. Now in imagination, take up a pen that lies beside the document. Feel its weight, its smoothness. You do not hesitate. You move the pen to the bottom of the page, where there is a space waiting. You see your name lightly written there, as though in pencil, and you trace over it in ink, signing with full intention. As you sign, feel as though something within you is saying, yes, I agree. Yes, I accept. Yes, this is mine. Sense a subtle warmth in your hand, perhaps a slight tingling, as though the simple act of signing here is sending a new message through your entire being. You are agreeing with the verdict of God in you. I am wealthy. When you have finished signing, lay the pen down. Watch as the ink seems to glow for a moment, and then settle, dark and permanent, upon the page. This is not a signature that can be rubbed away. It is an impression upon your subconscious. It is your own decision about yourself, accepted at the deepest level. Gently roll up this document. As you do, it wraps itself in a band that bears again your name. You place it into a special niche in the wall, a niche that seems carved just for it. As the scroll comes to rest there, a soft light surrounds it, sealing it in place. This is the central decree of your treasury, that all it holds already bears your name. Look around now with new eyes. Every chest, every box, every book, every scroll, every symbol of wealth in this vast hall, you now recognize as yours. There is no rivalry, no jealousy, no fear that another might take it. What is yours in consciousness cannot be stolen. The only one who can deny it to you is yourself, and tonight you have chosen to accept it. Let a feeling of deep relief spread through your chest. Perhaps you did not know until now how much of your life was spent as though you were an outsider to wealth, a visitor to other people's abundance. Now, in this treasury, you stand as the rightful heir. Your shoulders relax, your breath deepens. You are at home here. Walk slowly down the chamber once more. As you pass, see your name shining softly from every label, every plate, every spine. You might even hear, in the quiet of your heart, a gentle chorus of confirmation, as though the very objects were whispering, "He has claimed us. She has signed. We belong to you." If any old thought arises saying, "But I am poor, but I am in debt, but I have so little," simply see that thought as a faint faded label that was once stuck upon one of these chests. In imagination, reach up and peel it away. Replace it with a new label, freshly written with your name and the words infinite wealth, complete provision, abundant supply. Do this gently, without drama. The old label falls, the new one adheres. It is done. Stand now where you can see the length of the hall stretching away, the rows of chests, the shelves of books, the niches of scrolls. Know that this treasury is not outside you. It is a picture of your own subconscious when you accept yourself as wealthy. Every label with your name is a belief, an assumption, a feeling that says, yes, this belongs to me. And because consciousness is the only reality, the outer world must, in time, line itself up with what you have accepted here. Bring one hand in imagination to your heart. Feel as though you are touching the key to this entire hall. Not in your pocket, not in a safe, but in your own chest. The key is your I am. Whenever you say, I am wealthy, you are turning that key and entering this place again. Whenever you fall asleep feeling that you already possess the fortune, you are lying down upon the floor of this treasury and letting its atmosphere soak into you. Now we will leave it, but not as those who lose. We leave it the way a man leaves his house at dawn, knowing he can return at any moment, knowing it is his, knowing his possessions remain there, untouched by strangers. In imagination, walk slowly back toward the door through which you entered. As you walk, nothing fades, nothing vanishes. The hall remains full, brilliant, orderly, overflowing with wealth that bears your name. At the doorway, pause for a moment. Look back once more. Let the image fix itself in your mind. The long chamber, the rows of chests, the shelves of books, the glowing scroll with your signature resting in its niche, and up and down the hall, your name, your name, your name. Then turn and step through the doorway, closing it gently behind you. As you do, feel that the essence of this treasury has moved from the hall into your own being. You carry it now. You do not need to remember every detail. You need only carry the feeling, I live in a universe where the treasury already bears my name. I am not trying to convince life to bless me. Life has already done so in imagination. And now I walk in the certainty that the blessing will appear. Let that certainty be soft as you sink deeper into rest. Let your breath move slowly. Let your body be heavy. If you wish, whisper once more, very quietly, perhaps only in the movement of your feeling rather than in words. I am wealthy. All the treasures of life already bear my name. Drift towards sleep with that as your last impression. For as you do, the subconscious will take this treasury as real, and tomorrow and the days that follow will begin to echo what you have claimed tonight. And now, my friend, having walked through that vast treasury where everything already bore your name, I want to draw your attention to something very simple, very small, yet unimaginably powerful. A room full of chests, ledgers, and scrolls is a magnificent picture, but the subconscious is often moved most deeply by a single concentrated scene, a moment in time that carries the entire feeling in one act. The treasury you saw was the great landscape of your wealth. Now I will bring you into the precise instant where that wealth crystallizes into a single experience. Just as a whole book may be summarized in one sentence, the entire story of your fortune can be captured in one moment, the moment you receive it as yours. So, once again, let your physical body sink a little more heavily into the bed. Feel the firmness beneath you. Let your breath be slow and easy. You are safe. The outer world is far away now. You have stepped out of the great hall of treasure, but the feeling of ownership remains in your chest like a warm coal, glowing quietly. You know that wealth is yours in consciousness. Now we are going to condense that knowing into a single scene. In imagination, I want you to feel that you are sitting somewhere very simple, very ordinary. It may be a familiar chair in your home, or a bench by a window, or a seat in a quiet office. Let it be any place where you would naturally receive important news. See only as much as you need. A faint outline of a table, perhaps, or a strip of light falling across the floor. There is no need to fill in every detail. The center of this scene is not the room. It is your hands. Bring your attention now to your imaginal hands. Look down in your mind's eye and see them resting in your lap or upon a table before you. Notice the shape of them, the way the fingers curl slightly, the way the thumbs rest. Feel, even now, the faint sense of weight in them, as though they were holding something. Let that sensation grow a little clearer. You realize that between your hands there is an envelope. It is not a vague idea. It is a definite object. Feel the paper. Perhaps it is thick, of good quality, with a faint texture beneath your fingertips. Perhaps it is smooth and heavy, as official envelopes often are. Let your fingers explore its edges. There is a flap sealed at the back. On the front, you see writing. Look at the front of that envelope in imagination. There is your name, written clearly and unmistakably. It may be in ink, it may be typed, but it is there, your full name, the same name that shone on every chest and ledger in the inner treasury. This envelope is the outer token of that inner decree. It has moved from the vault of your subconscious into your hands. As you hold it, notice how real it feels. Feel the slight bend of the paper as you press it gently between your fingers. Hear the faint rustle as you shift your grip. The envelope has weight, more than an empty letter would. There is something substantial inside. The moment is quiet. There are no crowds, no noise, only you, the envelope, and the knowing that this is the moment. Let a thought arise within you, not in words, but in feeling. This is it. This is the moment my wealth becomes fact. Let that recognition spread through your chest like a slow, warm wave. There is no frantic excitement, no wild frenzy. There is instead a deep, almost solemn joy, as though something long promised is finally arriving, exactly on time. Now, in imagination, bring one thumb to the edge of the flap. Feel yourself begin to open the envelope. Hear the faint tearing sound as the seal gives way. The paper yields easily, as though it were always meant to be opened by you and you alone. Slide your fingers inside and feel the thickness of the document within. It might be a check, it might be a certification of inheritance, it might be a statement detailing your winning. However you picture the $100 million, let that form appear on the paper you draw out. Slowly, deliberately, slide the document from the envelope. Feel the way it drags slightly against the edges, then comes free into your hand. The envelope falls away, unimportant now. All your attention is on this single sheet. Look down at it. Again, you do not need to see every word clearly, but let one or two details stand out. At the top, perhaps, your name printed in a formal style. Somewhere on the page, a number, vast, abundant, far beyond what you once thought possible. You may not see every digit in perfect clarity, but you know it represents the equivalent of a fortune. Your fortune. The $100 million you have assumed in consciousness. Let your eyes linger on that number. Feel what it does to your body. There may be a slight quickening of your breath, a flutter in your chest, but beneath that, a profound stillness. You are not shocked as a beggar who stumbled into riches by accident. You are calm as a rightful heir reading what has always been due him, finally made visible. Say silently, within yourself, as you look at this document, yes, this is mine. Not, I hope it will be mine. Not, if only it could be mine. But a simple, firm, yes, this is mine. Feel the way that acceptance changes the atmosphere of the scene. The room around you seems to grow warmer, more intimate. The light upon the page seems to glow a little more. Now notice the small print, or a line that makes everything unmistakably clear. Perhaps it reads, pay to the order of your name the amount of, or this certifies that your name is the sole recipient of, or total balance in favor of your name. Let one such phrase stand out to you. Just enough to give your subconscious a clear impression this paper is an official confirmation of your wealth. Run a fingertip in imagination along the line where your name joins the amount. Feel the ink as though the very letters were slightly raised. This tactile sensation is important. The subconscious responds beautifully to touch. You are not merely looking, you are feeling. Now bring the document closer to your chest, as though to hold it nearer to your heart. As you do, let the feeling of gratitude rise. Not gratitude to some distant power who has finally taken pity on you, but gratitude as one who has proven a law. You might think quietly, it worked. It was always true. I was wealthy when I lay down to sleep in that state. This is only the echo. Take a slow breath in, as though you are breathing in the reality of this fortune. As you breathe out, feel any last tension or disbelief leaving your body. Any thought that says, this is too much, or do I deserve this? Let it dissolve like mist under the warmth of the sun. In its place, a new thought stands firmly. This is natural to me. This is natural to me. This matches who I am. Look again at the number. See how calmly you hold it now. It no longer startles you. It fits you. A man who suddenly puts on a garment too grand for him feels awkward and out of place. But a man who has grown inwardly into that garment wears it with ease. Tonight you wear this amount, this fortune, with ease. If you wish, imagine that there is a signature at the bottom of the page, perhaps the name of an institution, a benefactor, a trustee, some authority. But notice something: that signature, however official it looks, is less powerful than the one that is missing, which is your own. This document is waiting for you to accept it, not merely to read it. In imagination, see a pen lying beside you, a simple, reliable instrument. Pick it up with your dominant hand. Feel its weight, the way it fits between your fingers. Now lower its tip to the place where your own name is printed for signature. You may already see your name faintly outlined there, waiting to be traced over. Very slowly, very deliberately, begin to sign. As you do, feel as though every stroke of the pen is an act of inner agreement. When you write the first letter, you are saying, I accept this. When you write the next, you are saying, I walk in this. As you complete your name, you are saying, I am this wealthy one. Sense a kind of quiet power in this act. You are not hoping, you are consenting. You are not asking, you are affirming. The outer signature is a shadow of an inner vow. I agree that I am the one who has already won. When you finish the signature, set the pen down. Look at the page once more. There it is, the vast amount, the confirming words, and your own signature anchoring it all together. Let a wave of relief pass through you, as though some long suspense has ended. You no longer wait for a decision. The decision has been made. Now bring the document up and press it gently against your chest in imagination, right over your heart. Feel the paper between your hand and your body. As you hold it there, the physical sense of document and the inner sense of identity merge. It is as though the words and numbers on the page are being absorbed into you, sinking from the paper into your very being. You might picture the ink dissolving into light and flowing through your chest, down your arms, into your hands, up into your head, through your whole body. Or you may simply feel a warmth spreading from the place where the document touches you. In either case, know that this is the moment of acceptance. You are letting the fact of your wealth take root in the deepest part of you. Now imagine lowering the paper again and resting it upon your lap or the table before you. You no longer clutch it in fear of losing it. You rest in the knowledge that what matters is already inside you. The scene has done its work. You have felt what it is to win. You have accepted emotionally the equivalent of the $100 million. You have experienced the moment of winning as present reality, not as a far-off dream. I want you now to notice something important in this imaginal scene. At no point are you begging, pleading, or waiting for permission. From the first instant, your hands feel the envelope. You are moving toward acceptance. You are behaving exactly as you would if the lottery were truly won, if the inheritance were truly yours, if the fortune were truly deposited in your name. The subconscious does not know this is a scene in imagination. It only knows the feeling. The feeling of I have it is the only thing it understands. So take one more slow, deep breath in the scene. Look quietly at the paper in front of you, at your name, at the amount, at your signature. Let a small, quiet smile form, not on your outer lips, but in your chest. A smile of certainty. A smile that says, of course this is mine. Then gently let the details of the scene begin to soften. The table, the room, the envelope, the page, all of it can slowly fade, like a picture dissolving into light. But let the feeling remain. The feeling of the envelope in your hands, the feeling of opening it, the feeling of seeing the number, the feeling of signing, the feeling of relief and natural joy. That feeling is the seed. That feeling is the win. As the scene dissolves, you become aware again of your physical body lying where it is, supported, safe, at rest. Your hands may be still at your sides or resting softly upon your body, but in the deeper self, they have just held the proof of your wealth. Your eyes may be closed, but inwardly, they have seen your name beside the fortune. Now, as you drift closer to sleep, let your last inner word be in harmony with that scene. You may whisper quietly within, I have already won, or I already possess the fortune, or simply, I am wealthy. Say it softly, as one stating a fact. The envelope, the document, the signature, these all serve one purpose, to give feeling to that statement. Allow yourself now to sink even more deeply into the bed. Let every muscle loosen. Let your breathing fall into an easy rhythm. If thoughts arise, let them pass. Return gently to the feeling of that moment. The paper in your hands, your name upon it, your acceptance of it. Fall asleep in that state. For if you sleep in the feeling of the wish fulfilled, the law must in time arrange the outer world to match it. The envelope in your hands tonight is the inner cause of tomorrow's harvest. You have just lived, in imagination, the precise instant of winning, the holy moment when the invisible became visible in the form of that envelope and that document in your hands. You have felt the paper, you have seen the sum, you have signed your name. That scene has impressed upon your subconscious the feeling of I have received. Now I want to take you even deeper into this certainty, to show you that what you have just accepted is not a single isolated event, but part of a great, continuous movement that never ceases. Winning the fortune is not a point, it is a flow. It is not a stroke of luck. It is the natural current of your being. So as the image of the envelope and the document softens and fades from your inner eye, do not try to hold it by force. Let it slip gently into the background, like the last scene of a play dissolving as the curtain falls. The feeling remains. You are the one who has already received. You are the one who has already won. Let that be your quiet knowing as we move into a new imaginal picture, a picture that reveals how life itself carries everything you require toward you, without your straining, without your chasing, without your anxiety. Once more, become aware of your physical body resting where it is. Feel the support beneath you. Feel the gentle rise and fall of your breath. You are safe. You are held. Now in imagination, allow yourself to be elsewhere, yet still as comfortable, still as at ease. See yourself seated or standing near a river. This is not a harsh, roaring torrent. It is a wide, calm river, moving steadily, peacefully, with quiet power. The air around you is soft. There is a gentle coolness, the sort you feel near water even on a warm day. You may see trees along the banks, or stones at the edge, or simply the broad surface of the water, catching the light. Do not concern yourself with every detail. Let only a few elements become clear. The main reality is this: there is a river and it flows toward you. Notice that carefully. In this imaginal scene, the direction of the current is not away from you, but toward you. You stand or sit at a bend where the water seems to come from far away and gently curve toward the place where you are. As you look at it, you realize that this river is not made only of water. On its surface, carried upon its current, come opportunities, resources, connections, sums of money, ideas, and all that belongs to the state of wealth you have assumed. At first, you may see only the water itself, smooth, steady, reflective. Let your eyes rest on that surface. Watch the way it moves, not in violent waves, not in frantic swirling, but in an unhurried, continuous flow. The movement is constant and inevitable. You could stand here with your eyes closed for a moment, and when you open them again, the river would still be coming, still be bringing. It does not depend on your effort. It is the nature of the river to flow. As you watch, you begin to notice shapes upon the water. Perhaps at first, it is a small wooden box floating toward you, carried effortlessly by the current. It comes from somewhere beyond your sight, somewhere upstream, beyond the bend, beyond the horizon of your physical understanding. You did not push it into the water. You did not send for it. It simply appears, already on its way toward you. Let that small box draw closer. See how the current brings it nearer without hurry. It glides across the surface, bobbing slightly, but never losing its direction. It is coming to you. You do not have to lean forward anxiously or reach out desperately. You can simply wait, calm, knowing that if you remain here, if you remain in this state, the river must carry it to your feet. Now in imagination, the box reaches the shore where you are. Perhaps it bumps gently against a rock or simply glides to rest near the bank. Bend down in your mind's eye and place your hands upon it. Feel its texture. Perhaps it is smooth, perhaps slightly rough with age. You lift the lid and look inside. There, you may see money, or a document, or a symbol of some opportunity, whatever first comes to your inner sense, as an answer to a need you once felt. It has arrived without your struggle. It has come by the law of your inner state. Close the box again, not with greed, but with gratitude, and set it aside. As you straighten and lift your gaze, you see that the river has not paused. It is still flowing, still bringing. Another object appears upon the water, a sealed envelope, perhaps like the one you opened before, or a beautifully carved chest, or a scroll wrapped in ribbon, or even something very ordinary, a handbag, a parcel, a crate. Do not force the image. Let it choose itself. The important thing is that you recognize this too is coming toward me. This too is for me. Watch as this new object glides along the current. Notice how effortless its movement is. There is no struggle, no strain. The river does all the work. It carries the object around rocks, through gentle eddies, always drawing it closer. You are not chasing it upstream. You are standing in the place where things arrive. This is the true position of the wealthy man, not running after supply, but standing at the bend where supply meets him. Again, the object reaches you. You bend, you take hold of it, you open it. Inside you may find another form of wealth, perhaps a letter offering you a position of greater income and freedom, perhaps a contract, perhaps a single key that leads to something larger. Whatever it is, you feel the same quiet recognition. Of course, this fits the state I inhabit. As you continue to watch, more and more items appear upon the river. Some are large, some small. Some may look splendid and ornate. Others may appear plain, even unimpressive. Yet you know that each one contains something that serves your wealth, your freedom, your expansion. Each is a link in the bridge of incidents that carries you from where you were to the full realization of the fortune you have already assumed. Notice something important here. You do not have to grab at every object frantically, as though you might lose your chance. The river is abundant. There is no end to what it can bring. If one box passes by unopened in imagination, another will come. The essence of this visualization is not anxious grasping. It is quiet receiving. You are learning in picture form what it feels like to let prosperity come to you. Stand quietly on the bank, or sit comfortably upon a stone, and simply watch for a moment. Let the gentle sound of the flowing river reach your inner ear. It is a low, continuous murmur, soothing, unbroken. With each soft movement of the water, you feel your body relax more deeply. Your shoulders release any last tension. Your jaw softens. Your hands become loose and open, no longer clenched. As the water flows, imagine that every drop is carrying to you some form of good. Not only money, but ideas, relationships, timings, chances, inspirations. All these, in the outer world, appear as separate, scattered events. But in this inner picture, they are seen for what they truly are. One single stream of providence moving toward you, because of who you are within. Let the thought arise gently. I am the one toward whom prosperity flows. Feel what that does inside you. You are no longer a beggar, looking up to a distant sky, pleading for a crust. You are the center toward which the river bends. You are the curve in consciousness where the current of life turns and gathers. See now, among the many objects on the water, something that clearly represents great sums, perhaps a large chest bound with iron, or a massive ledger, or a sealed trunk of fine wood. It comes slowly, majestically, borne on the same calm current. This is the symbol of the great fortune, the equivalent of the $100 million you have already accepted. But notice this, it comes no differently than the smaller things. The river does not strain to carry it. It glides as easily as a leaf. Watch this great chest approaching. It may appear from far upstream, a dark shape growing steadily larger as it draws near. There is no question of whether it will reach you. The direction of the current has already decided. In this imaginal scene, you need only remain, only be, only stand in the place of reception. When at last the chest reaches the bank where you are, Feel the quiet weight of the moment. There is no panic, no disbelief. You have already received the smaller boxes, the letters, the signs. This is simply the greater expression of the same law. Bend down now and place your hands upon the chest. Feel its solidity. Perhaps it is damp from the water, cool to the touch. Feel the strength of your fingers as they grip the handles or rest upon the lid. You are well able to receive this. If you wish, in imagination, you may open the chest and see within it stacks of notes, or bars of gold, or bonds and deeds, or whatever image most strongly says to you, here is unimaginable wealth. Or you may leave it closed, simply knowing in your heart, this is my fortune. I have no need to count it to believe it. Choose whichever feels most natural, most peaceful. Now step back in your mind's eye and look at the scene as a whole. The river still flowing, still bringing the smaller gifts already gathered, the great chest at your feet. And you standing or sitting there, calm, grounded, aware that this flow is not a rare occurrence, but your new normal. The outer world may call events like these chance or luck, but within, you know they are the inevitable result of your state. Let a simple phrase arise within you as you watch the river. It all comes to me. Say it inwardly, with quiet certainty, not as a wish but as a description. It all comes to me. The right people, the right ideas, the right sums, the right openings. They all flow toward me. Feel how that sentence changes your posture inside. You may even feel your chest open slightly, as though you are breathing more freely. You are not pushing against life. You are not chasing life. Life is flowing toward you. This is wealth consciousness. This is what it means to live as the man or woman who has already won. The fortune is not a single lightning strike. It is a river, steady, continuous, faithful. Now gently, let the visual details of the river scene fade a little, as though a mist were rising from the water. You may no longer see every tree, every stone, every box. But hold on to one feeling, the feeling of standing where everything you require comes to you by a natural, effortless current. As your physical body continues to rest, let that feeling sink deeper. Let it move from your mind into your chest, from your chest into your belly, from your belly into your limbs. You are becoming, in your own awareness, the point toward which prosperity flows. And as you sink more deeply into drowsiness, let your final inner word be something like, I do not chase. All is drawn to me, or simply, prosperity flows to me now. Drift with that thought, drift with that feeling. For as surely as the imaginal river flowed toward you tonight, the events of your waking life will in time rearrange themselves to match the state you have assumed. You have stood by the river and watched prosperity flow toward you, carried by a current you did not have to create, a current that moves simply because of who you are within. You have seen chests and envelopes, small gifts and great fortunes gliding toward you on that quiet, inevitable stream. Now I want to take you from the riverbank to another holy place, a place that shows you the nature of your own mind in yet another form. If the river revealed to you how life brings things toward the state you occupy, this next vision will show you how every desire you plant in yourself is already destined to become wealth. So in imagination, let the river fade softly behind you. You turn, and there is a gentle path leading away from the water, winding uphill through tall grass. You begin to walk along this path. Feel the firmness of the ground beneath your feet. The air is fresh and a little warmer as you move away from the cool edge of the river. You are not hurrying. You are simply walking as a man who has already received, as a woman who already possesses. The chest from the river, the boxes, the envelopes, they are all behind you now, part of your wealth. You are walking forward to understand more deeply how that wealth is born. As you follow the path, you notice that the ground begins to change. The tall grass gives way to rich, dark soil, soft and deep. The scent of the earth rises, warm and welcoming. Before you, spreading out like a quiet paradise, is a garden. This is not a wild forest, nor a chaotic field. It is a carefully prepared garden, with neat paths and open beds of fertile earth, each one ready to receive. The light here is gentle, neither harsh nor dim, as though the sky itself has chosen the perfect hour to bless this place. Stand for a moment at the entrance to this garden and simply feel its peace. This garden is your inner world. This soil is your subconscious mind. And in this garden, there is one great law: every seed you plant becomes fortune. Not some seeds, not most seeds. Every seed, when planted deliberately, must bring forth after its kind. Walk slowly along one of the paths through the garden. On either side of you stretches the rich earth, dark, moist, waiting. There are no weeds here, only open space, open possibility. Every step you take, you feel as though the ground is quietly humming with life beneath the surface, ready to answer any seed you might drop into it. In your hands, you find that you are carrying a small pouch. You did not pick it up. It was simply there, as natural as your own thoughts. This pouch holds seeds, but these are not ordinary seeds. Each one is a desire. Each one is a wish already formed in your heart. And here, in this place, when you plant one of these seeds, it does not simply become a plant. It becomes fortune. It becomes a form of wealth that matches the nature of the desire itself. Open the pouch in your imagination and look inside. You may see many tiny shapes, some shining faintly, some simple and unadorned. Each one is a desire for abundance, a desire to be free of debt, a desire to give, to travel, to build, to bless others, to live with ease. There, in this little bag, you carry the sum of all the wishes that once felt far from you. Take one seed between your fingers. Let this first seed represent a very specific desire, perhaps the clearing of a particular debt, or the arrival of a certain large sum, or the freedom to leave some heavy obligation behind. Hold the seed in your hand, small and light. Now, kneel down beside one of the empty beds of soil. The ground is warm and receptive. With your fingers, you make a small opening in the soil, just enough to receive the seed. As you place it into the earth, you are not simply dropping a wish into darkness. You are making a deliberate assumption. In that moment of planting, you quietly say within yourself, "This desire is accepted. This desire is already fulfilled." Feel that as you press a thin layer of soil over the seed. Here, in this garden of your being, the law is very strange to the outer mind. Things do not take months or years to sprout. As you place your hand upon the spot where you buried the seed, something begins to happen at once. You feel a tiny stirring beneath your palm. The soil moves gently, as though something beneath it is waking. Stay very still. In your imagination, watch as a small green shoot pushes its way up from the earth, in the exact spot where you planted the seed. It breaks through the soil and begins to grow. Slowly at first, then faster, as though time has agreed to hurry for you. The shoot thickens into a stem. The stem branches, leaves appear. You are seeing, in symbolic form, the movement of your subconscious once you have accepted a desire as real. Now, as this plant grows taller, you notice something remarkable. The leaves are not like ordinary leaves. They are shaped like small notes of currency, or like coins, or like shining symbols of value. Each leaf seems to glimmer with golden light, or the soft sheen of silver, or the precise markings of financial documents. This plant is not merely alive, it is wealth in living form. Watch as small buds appear among the leaves. They swell, they ripen, and when they open, they reveal not flowers, but tangible forms of abundance. A contract rolled upon itself like a blossom, a deed that unfolds like a petal, a check that glows like a white flower touched by sunlight. Each detail is a picture, in imagination, of that particular desire fulfilled. This is the fortune grown from the first seed you planted. Stand up now and look around the garden. It is still mostly empty beds of soil, but you know now what happens when you plant. Every desire you place into this earth, in the form of assumption, will do the same. It must. The soil cannot refuse. The soil cannot argue. The soil cannot say, "This desire is too big," or this desire is too small. It can only receive and bring forth. So you take another seed from the pouch. Let this one represent a different aspect of your fortune, perhaps the joy of being able to give large gifts to others, or the freedom to travel without concern for cost, or the ability to support causes that matter deeply to you. Whatever it is, hold the seed and feel what that fulfilled desire would be like, not as a distant dream, but as something you have already tasted. Kneel at a new spot. Open the soil. Place the seed within. As you cover it gently and rest your hand upon it, again you quietly affirm, this too is already fulfilled. At once, the ground moves. A new shoot emerges, different from the first. Perhaps this plant grows with wider leaves or with branches that arc outward. Soon it too is covered with symbols of abundance. You may see small golden fruits hanging from it, each one marked with an amount, a name, or a scene that represents your ability to give and bless. Feel the delight of this. You are in a garden where every seed you plant is a desire accepted as fact, and every desire accepted as fact must become fortune. There is no question here. There is no delay, no drought, no infertile ground. The only condition is that you truly plant, that is, that you truly assume. Now take your time. In imagination, move slowly along the rows, planting more seeds. Each seed is a different aspect of your $100 million fortune. One seed may stand for complete freedom from work that drains you. Another may stand for the beautiful home you inhabit. Another for investments that increase on their own. Another for the education of your children, or the support of those you love. Another for the quiet knowledge that you can meet any bill, any obligation with ease. For each seed, follow the same holy ritual. Feel the desire as if fulfilled. Kneel. Open the soil. Place the seed. Cover it gently. Rest your hand upon that place and inwardly declare, this is already mine. This is already done. Then watch as the plant grows, as the branches appear, as the living wealth blossoms before your eyes. Soon, as you stand and look around, the garden is no longer bare. Rows of living abundance stretch out on every side. Trees of fortune, shrubs of supply, vines of opportunity. Each has grown from a desire you dared to accept. The colors are rich, the forms are varied. You may walk between them, touching a leaf here, a fruit there, knowing that each one is not a fantasy, but a symbol of what is already taking shape in the unseen. Walk slowly down one of the paths now, feeling the soft earth beneath your feet and the presence of these living fortunes all around you. The air is filled with a sense of ripeness, of fullness. You can almost hear a gentle, barely audible sound, as though the garden itself were whispering, yes, yes, yes. It is the sound of acceptance, the sound of the subconscious mind saying, I have received your word, I am bringing it forth. Pause by one particular tree that seems to stand taller than the rest. Let this one represent the total sum, the great fortune, the equivalent of the $100 million. Its trunk is broad and strong. Its roots sink deep into the soil of your being. Its branches stretch high, heavy with fruits of gold, silver, and every form of value. This is the embodiment, in one image, of all your wealth. Place your hand upon the trunk of this tree. Feel its solidity. Feel the life pulsing within it. This tree is not growing by your effort. It grows because the seed was planted. It grows because life itself, the life of God within you, is expressing as wealth. You may pluck one of its fruits and hold it up to the light. On its surface, you may see inscribed whatever most clearly says to you, you are unimaginably rich. Stand there for a moment, hand resting upon the tree, fruit in your other hand, and let a realization rise gently within you. In my inner world, my wealth is already fully grown. In this garden, every desire has already become fortune. In imagination, nothing is incomplete. Feel how this changes your sense of self. You are not a poor man hoping for a small improvement. You are a wealthy man walking through his own garden of riches. You are not a beggar at the gate. You are the owner of the estate. The outer world, with its appearances, is only a shadow. This garden is the reality. Now see yourself slowly closing the little pouch of remaining seeds. You do not feel any anxiety about what is left or what is still to be planted. You know that even a few seeds, planted in this soil, are more than enough to cover lifetimes of abundance. You tuck the pouch away, not from fear, but from peace. You know that any time a new desire is born in you, you may return here, kneel and plant it, and the Lord will answer. Begin to walk toward the edge of the garden, following the path that leads back to the entrance. As you walk, look around once more at the trees and plants. Some have only just sprouted. Others are in full, glorious bloom. All are alive. All are yours. Each is a symbol of some aspect of your wealth that is already alive within you, already growing in the unseen. At the gate, pause and turn back for a final look. Let your inner eye rest on the garden as a whole. This vivid, ordered, living picture of your subconscious mind. Hear within yourself, very softly, the simple statement, every seed I plant becomes fortune. Say it inwardly once more. Every desire I truly assume must become wealth in my world. Now let the image of the garden soften. You do not lose it. It is there whenever you wish to visit. But for now, you allow it to fade gently into a warm, comforting darkness. The feeling remains, the feeling of living in a reality where wealth is already planted, already growing, already complete. As your physical body continues to rest, breathing slowly, drifting perhaps closer to sleep, carry with you this quiet knowing you have planted desires as seeds, and in the garden of your inner being, they have already become fortune.